Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, January 28th Citrus Heights City Council meeting. This is now in session. We don't have anything to report from our closed session, but I know we have some very eager participants in this meeting, so let's go ahead and move forward. Let's go ahead and start, Amy.
So I'll take the roll call. Councilmember Karpinski-Costa.
Present.
Councilmember Nelson.
Present.
Councilmember Schaefer is anticipated to join via Zoom for Just Cause. He has not joined yet, but I will patch him through when he joins. Councilmember Middleton.
Present.
Vice Mayor Middleton. And Mayor Lopez Taff.
Here. Let's go ahead and back up. That was my fault, to the flag salute. If I can have Vice Mayor Middleton lead us in the flag salute.
Please stand.
Next item, please.
Next item is the video statement. This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is live and recorded with closed captioning. It is cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. It is also live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, February 2nd at 9 a.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
All right, thank you so much. Next item, please.
Approval of agenda.
All right, do we have anyone wanting to pull items for discussion?
Move approval of the agenda.
Great,
I'll second.
wonderful. We have a first and a second. Do we need to do a roll call vote for this?
When Councilmember Schaefer joins, we will need to do a roll call vote, but he has not.
Okay. While we are waiting for that, are we able to move ahead to presentations?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and go to item 4, please.
Item number 4 is presentation by Republic Services, poster contest winners.
So am I just click through for this? No? Yes? Yes, we had a slideshow. Does the clicker do anything? No, it does not. Okay, I'll just have you guys click through for me. Oh, it does work. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. City Council, thank you for having us. My name is Megan Smith-Fajardo. I'm your Sustainability Advisor with Republic Services. With me, I have my General Manager, Colin Wallace. And today, we're extremely excited because we get to do one of our favorite things, which is recognize the students of Citrus Heights. With that, we'll go right into it. So most of you know who we are, but on the off chance you don't, Republic Services is the residential hauler for all of the waste in Citrus Heights. And every year we send out a calendar about our guide of services that we offer. Oh, too far. Okay. And on that, the guide is a calendar. And so we do a contest every year where we have students send in their art and we pick the 12 best ones and they get to be featured in the calendar. And that calendar goes to every single home in Citrus Heights. So we do this in partnership with the city and also with the school district. So we invite students all in the grades of K through 8 who live in Citrus Heights or attend Citrus Heights schools to participate. And so that is 8 different schools of K through 8 schools, elementary and middle schools. And then the winners are actually voted on by Citrus Heights City Council and city staff. They're allowed to pick their 12 favorite, and then the students with the most votes win. And so here today we have 12 winning students, including our grand prize winning student, and our grand prize winning student gets to be featured in their month and also on the cover of the calendar. So our prompt this year was, how do you care for Citrus Heights? Which I think got us some really cool responses, and I'm sure you'll all agree in a minute. Before I go any further, I want to make sure that you all know the process. So Mayor Lopez Taft, if you don't mind, I'm going to have you come down, and we're going to call the students up one by one. When you hear your name, please come up. You're going to take a photo with Mayor, and then you're going to get a certificate and a picture. Actually, we'll give you your framed picture and your certificate first, then you'll go get your photo with the mayor. And when you're done, you're going to just step off to the left side and wait. And once we have everybody up, we'll take a big group photo with the whole council, and then you're all free to leave, unless you want to watch the rest of the meeting. Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and get started. Our first winner is from Arlington Heights Elementary. Arlington had one winner. And that is Olivia Landzinska. Use your left or right. Okay. And then just shuffle them to the.
There we go, yeah.
Oh, great. And then family and friends, you are welcome to get photos when your student is up here.
Good job, Olivia.
All right, next up, we have our winner from Cambridge Heights Elementary. They also had one winner, and that is Sienna Tolman. She's a second grader. She's in the month of December.
Nice.
All right, next up, we have our winner from Woodside K-8, also one winner, and that is Carolina Gusser. All right, she may not be here. We'll get with her later. Next, we have winners from Carriage Drive. Carriage Drive has two winners. Our first is Emma Chmuck. Coming up. All right, and next up, Aubrey Adams. Mary Jane, it's upside down. All right, next up we have our winners from Lycan K-8. Lycan has three winners. First, we have Emma Mason. All right, next up, Wanalyn Flores. And Wanalyn is actually our first prize winner from last year, so congrats for the second time, Wanalyn. All right, and last from Lycan, we have Alana Aguilar. And then our last school of the night, Skycrest, with four winners. We have Bryson Geralami. Do you want to hold hold your certificate? And next up, we have Nataha Ram. And next up, we have Amy Rubio. I believe. Amy's not here. And then lastly, we have our first place winner, Daniel Roshinetz. All right, now we're going to do our group photo. So if I could have City Council come down, we're going to have all the kids step in a little bit. We're going to take one photo together. And then families, please feel free to come up and get a photo as well. So with that, we'd just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you to the council and to the staff for voting, to the schools for participating, and of course to all our student winners. If you do not feel like sitting through the rest of this meeting, now's your chance to leave. Our student winners, there's a gift bag put together by the city for you. Come find us out in the lobby and we'll help you out.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's go ahead to our next presentation, please.
Do you want to? Our next presentation, number 5, is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming January 2026 as Neighborhood Area Awareness Month.
And I've asked Councilmember Karpinski Costa to go ahead and deliver this proclamation.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then after I read it, I'd like to invite our local neighborhood area leaders, members, whoever's here to the podium to share a few remarks in support of the proclamation. So first, let me start by reading it. This is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming January 2026 as Neighborhood Area Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Citrus Heights recognizes the importance of strong, engaged, and vibrant neighborhoods as the foundation of a thriving and connected community, and whereas the Neighborhood Area Network provides opportunities for residents to work collaboratively on a shared vision for the future and enhancing community pride, and whereas strong neighborhoods improve public safety, encourage neighbor-to-neighbor communication, and help prevent blight by promoting care and stewardship of home and shared spaces. And whereas engaged residents are essential to the success of community initiatives, as they contribute their time, talents, and energy to improving their neighborhoods through volunteerism and leadership. And whereas awareness and participation in neighborhood meetings, events, and activities strengthen community ties, improve understanding of local government processes, and ensure the voices of residents are heard and valued. And whereas celebrating Neighborhood Awareness Month highlights the contributions of residents and community leaders who have demonstrated exceptional commitment to enhancing the quality of life in Citrus Heights. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby proclaim January 2026 as Neighborhood Area Awareness Month in the City of Citrus Heights and encourages all residents to recognize and participate in this effort to strengthen our neighborhoods, foster civic pride, and build a connected and resilient community. Comments from council members and comments from our neighborhood leaders. Who's coming up to the podium?
Yeah, I see a few of you wonderful people out there. I would love if Kathy Morris, as a president of REACH, would come forward, and any other representatives. I see my Chasen group and Area 3 and 1. Please come out. We'd love to see you and hear from you, and then deliver the proclamation.
Area
to
10, you better be out there.
All right, let's hear from Kathy first, and then you can pass the mic, as it were.
Madam Mayor and council members, that we have some of our neighborhood groups here, a couple of presidents and some members. We work really hard. It works best in a community if we work people to people, and that's what our neighborhood areas do. We get projects done, and we work with the city to get things resolved. We really appreciate the city's support and recognition of this group. Did you want everybody to talk?
Why don't we have everyone introduce themselves and the area they represent?
Okay, and by the way, I am Kathy Morris. I happen to be the president of REACH at the moment, but I'm also from Chasen, Area 789.
Perfect, thank you.
To introduce yourself? I'm Dave Simon from Chasen.
Vice President?
Oh, yeah, thank you, I'm Vice President.
Okay.
Mona Tennis, Area 2.
Thank you.
Bill Shirley, Chasen, President.
Thank you.
Yes. Ted Costa, Interim Chairman of Area 10.
Not everybody is short like me.
Mike Hazlett, President of Area 5 and Secretary for REACH.
Thank you.
You can move it back down, Jody.
Are you calling me short?
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jody Ashton. I'm the president of Area 11, Birdcage Heights.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm G. Marie Welby, purple hair, from Area 11.
Courtney?
Hi, I'm Courtney Campbell, Secretary of Area 4.
Glenda?
I'm Glenda Green. I'm from Area 3, and I just wanted to say thank you so much to the council for supporting the neighborhood areas. We were able to adopt a family during the Operation Holiday Cheer, and it meant a lot to us and to the community, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Thomas Spencer, Area 5, just a guy, one of the neighbors. I'll be speaking to you later about in public comment on reference to connecting the community.
All right, thank you.
And I would like to advise the council and all of the city that we are this year having a community potluck, a community dinner, March 9, and that's one of the ways that we all get together to talk to each other and to encourage continued growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now before we take our picture, and I want this group to take a picture with us, please. Do we have any council comments?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
I spent some time in the neighborhood areas and Reach, and I quite enjoyed my time. I was there with most of you, very fine people who give a lot of your time to these efforts. So I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I see a lot of familiar faces, and you guys continue to do the deep work that's required to make our community a real community that is united through our neighborhood associations, our neighborhood areas, sorry. I hope that this year, with the coming plans that you guys have, that you are actually able to grow your neighborhood presence, and I'm willing to make sure that we all work together to help make that happen.
And I want to thank the city for doing the Awareness Month, because we need to be aware. And thank all of you participants and those who couldn't make it tonight for making the neighborhoods what they are. Because we've had these neighborhoods since we became a city, and it puts us apart from other cities because it keeps us as a integrated community. And that's what we are. I mean, this is an incredible group of people. If you aren't involved in your neighborhood, look at this wonderful group that you can work with to get involved. And so I think it's neighborhood awareness, and we're doing our best. And the city has been putting stuff on their Facebook. I'm not a Facebook person, but if you are, you can see what each of the neighborhoods are doing. It's just one example of the projects they're doing. It isn't just meetings. It's actual contributing things in our community. And if you look, it's a source of leadership for most of the people up here. They've started down there. So thank you all.
Wonderful, absolutely. I echo those sentiments, and, knowing how much work my neighborhood area group does, I just applaud you for your time, effort, and sometimes your treasure in making our communities a vibrant place to be. And also, for those of you who might be listening to this, if you feel like you don't know anyone, come meet these wonderful folks. They meet every month and are so excited to meet you. So come out and meet a new friend.
And Mayor,
If I could.
Councilmember Schaefer is on
Yes.
as well.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what our former mayor had to say. I came up through the process. That's how I got directly involved with the city, is through the neighborhoods. I enjoyed my time very much so. Your neighborhoods need your volunteership. They really need you to participate. It makes for a much better community, and I really encourage everyone to figure out where the neighborhoods are. If they know who they are, participate. Make your feelings known. And so as a council, I think that our community is really what drives who we are as a policy-making board, and we want to hear your input. Thanks.
All right, and with that, we'll come join you for a photo.
Thank you for coming. Come over here.
Gotta make sure we're here. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Kathy.
You do that.
I think so. I'll follow you.
All right, a few more. Perfect, thank you. Beautiful building.
Should have brought a picture of Tim and held it up.
All right, I think now we can double back to our official roll call.
So I'll take roll call again. Councilmember Kropinski Costa. Is that what you mean, Mayor?
No, she wanted to do the approval of the agenda, roll call?
Yes, for approval of the agenda.
Oh, okay. So approval of the agenda?
So Tim, I made the motion and it was seconded for the approval of the agenda.
We never approved the agenda. We just rolled right along through it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So the motion was by Councilmember Karpinski Costa.
Yes.
And seconded by Councilmember Nelson, so we'll take a roll call vote.
Yes, that's where we're at, I think.
Councilmember Karpinski Costa,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Middleton,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez Taft.
Aye. Next item, please.
So next item, we'll move on to the public comment. Members of the public may address the city council during the meeting. Please fill out a speaker sheet and give it to the city clerk. When you're called upon to speak, please step forward to the podium and state your name for the record. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the mayor has the discretion to adjust the allotted time. There is a countdown display that will flash red at the end of the allotted time. Consistent with the Brown Act, the council is prohibited from engaging in a discussion or taking action on any item not appearing on the agenda. I do have 2 speaker sheets for the general public comment and 1 written for the general public comment, so I'll call up those individuals now. Bethany Brown.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Bethany Brown. I am a special educator, a Sunday school teacher, and a resident and registered voter of Citrus Heights. According to census estimates, there are about 87,000 people living in Citrus Heights. 30,000 of those are ethnicities other than white, and about 12,000 of those are foreign-born. Every single one of our 87,000 residents deserves to feel safe in our community. And what is happening and what has happened to Keith Porter, Renee Good, Alex Preddy, Jocelyn Rojo Carranza, Liam Ramos, and many others is undermining that safety. Immigration enforcement may be necessary, but it absolutely must be conducted with the utmost respect for both human dignity and rule of law. Yesterday, the Sacramento City Council voted to affirm their status as a sanctuary city and outline legislative and programmatic support for immigrants and refugees. And I urge the Citrus Heights City Council to follow their example and pass or reaffirm legislation that would ensure community safety and uphold the fundamental rights that are guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution and the California Constitution for each and every person in our city. This legislation may include, but is certainly not limited to, ensuring that the city will protect the rights of all residents to peacefully protest, to observe, and to record immigration enforcement, require federal immigration enforcement agents to clearly display agency affiliation and identifying information, oppose local law enforcement working with federal immigration agencies to investigate or detain persons on the basis of alleged violations of civil immigration laws or other nonviolent crimes, and require the same evidentiary standards for other infractions that our local law enforcement has to follow. Consistent with the California Values Act passed in 2017, ensure that no immigration enforcement agent has access to city data, information, or personnel that could be used to determine or trace a person's citizenship or immigration status. And specifically, I request that you restrict access to city surveillance cameras and systems, city databases, and city communication networks. In addition, I urge you to update the Citrus Heights website to include answers to frequently asked questions regarding immigration and constitutional rights, resources for immigrants, refugees, protesters, and observers, and clear messaging from the Citrus Heights Police Department regarding their role in immigration enforcement and whether or not they will ask for immigration status or report immigration status to the Department of Homeland Security. I look forward to seeing these issues addressed on future council meeting agendas. Thank you so much for your time and your commitment to ensuring the safety of our community.
Thank you.
The next public comment is from Thomas Spencer.
Good evening. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Hello, my name's Thomas Spencer. I'm a resident of Citrus Heights and all of that. I'm a really nice guy. I'm here today to speak to you about the connectiveness in the community, which has been a subject for a while. Over the years, I developed at a point, I was helping with a colleague to clean my street, and then it got to be what I call Greenback Park, and we were talking about things, and I realized by the persons that I knew as we would walk, cleaning the street and so forth, the value of having your, what I call open door session. And so at some point, some years previous, I would have a table out there with city information and being a great proponent of the city, much like that talkative neighbor we know who loves to share their experience, knowledge, and opinions on any manner of things, but particularly here about our city and how wonderful I think it is. So in speaking to a councilperson who will remain unknown, I was saying my term was ambassador, and it was suggested potentially through the grapevine that maybe it might be more appropriate to use the term hub for the city being the center and spokespersons being the spokes, much like on a wheel. I personally have no skin in the game, not my sandbox, how it's administered, but I'm just here to inform that that has been a way that has been proven to me organically, that it works. So I was here to just state that. As I mentioned, I've been saying this for a number of years, and it was a long-standing program that worked, and that is it. If there's any questions, I'm willing to answer them. I know I rambled a bit.
Well, thank you, Thomas.
Surely, thank you.
All right, and you have a written comment?
Yes, this written public comment is from Kay DeMarco, and they state, I keep seeing news, parentheses, in the Sentinel, about yet another shuttered business at Sunrise Mall and another about how the fines are stacking up for the mall owners. My question is, what is the city actually doing to move along the Sunrise Tomorrow agenda? Seems like Sunrise never at this rate. And that concludes the public comment.
All right, thank you. Now, I see several young people in the audience, and I just wonder if you are here to fulfill a government class requirement. Raise your hand if you are. Okay, one fun thing that we do at our council is have you come up to the mic, simply say your first name, last name if you want to include it, but also your school that you're representing tonight. So if you just want to come up and quickly introduce yourselves and tell us which schools you're doing this for, we would greatly appreciate it. Come on up. There you go.
My name is Jasmine Lopez, and I'm from Center High School.
Center, thank you. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Evandura Gomez, and I'm from Center High School.
Center as well, thank you.
My name is Mary Rose McCoy, and I'm also from Center High School.
Thank you.
My name is Arthur Panetta, and I am also from Center High School.
Oh, we're having a Center High School night tonight.
My name is Tyler Ingram, and I'm from Center High School.
My name is Aiden Jennings, and I'm also from Center High School. My name is Jacob Thompson, and I'm also from Center High School.
Okay, welcome.
My name is Seth Lee. I'm here for Boy Scouts, and I'm trying to fulfill my Communications Merit Badge, number 5.
Fantastic, welcome. If you want bonus points, we'll make sure to take pictures of you with you at the end of our council meeting. So you can have that bonus. I will promise to take pictures with you and for you. Okay, next item, please.
Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. To my left, your right. Dr. Jana, go ahead and lead us off here.
I made my list. Let me find my list. Easy enough. Well, I did go to I can't find my list, but I went to a mosquito meeting. And, mosquito in the wintertime, there is a winter mosquito, but our traps have had low numbers, so I don't think they're that bad. But if you get a little warm spell, it might. And they are the winter mosquitoes and not the West Nile ones. The West Nile ones generally come in the spring, summer, fall. And so we'll start doing our dead birds reporting in April, because that's when West Nile starts to hit, and the birds are the first sign usually before it hits. There were no new cases of human cases reported for West Nile virus, but last year there were a total of 102 human cases statewide. We will resume surveillance for Aedes aegypti in May. That's the day-biting mosquito. And we encourage you, if you get bit in the daytime, to let the district know, because these are usually mosquitoes that stay within neighborhoods. And so we will come out and find them for you and get rid of them, hopefully. So we also have ongoing tick surveillance. Citrus Heights does not have any what we call our registered tick spots where we do routine tick surveillance. But usually it's along the river. But, we do have creeks, and there are ticks. And so if you find ticks, ticks carry Lyme disease in human and in dogs. And so if you have a dog, you want to do your tick check and make sure that tick doesn't stay on longer than 24 hours, because that's usually when they engorge, and then that's when they communicate the disease. And so they have, for dogs, we have great tick and flea medicine that gets rid of that. But for people, you want to make sure that if you see a tick on you, that you get it off. So anyway, that's ticks. And if you see it, if you want to report it to the district, we'll come out and flag the area, look to see how many. But we may find ticks, but we don't always find the ticks that carry the disease. But those are usually along the river, like I said. So far, I'm not too worried about those. The interesting thing we do once a year, at Christmas time, we do a bird count on the property in Elk Grove. And so this year, we counted total birds. This is a one-time bird count, 396 birds. And of those birds, we had 35 different species, including herons, which are just absolutely phenomenal birds. And so just a number of different birds. And so I just wanted to let you know we do a bird count. I did also attend, don't have my list, I did do the chamber luncheon, and Assemblyman Hoover was our speaker. He talked about his bills that he's working on. That's always good to have that. You should be getting his email. He summarizes all the bills that he has, and if not, you can contact his office in Folsom, and they'll get you on the email list. I also went to the Metro Chamber dinner, the SEC Metro Chamber dinner with my colleagues, and the Kiwanis crab feed, which was expensive. I didn't win the wine. That's okay. That's okay. It was a good contribution. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. I also I think I picked up Tim's cold, so I was sick for a couple of days.
All right.
Okay, that's it.
With that, let's go to Councilmember Schaefer. We don't want to forget you this time.
Here. All right. So thank you, Mayor. I apologize for you getting my illness, Jana. And I have been sick for the last couple of weeks. I did get some kind of concerning health news in the last week or so. And that's the reason I'm not there tonight. But I'm stable. And I'm, as long as I behave myself, I will be attending council meetings in the future, but that's why I'm not there tonight, but I will see you at the next council meeting.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Schaefer. Let's go to Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. I had a great time at the Metro Chamber Gala. It was very nice to catch up with a lot of different folks from around the region and to see all the folks who are being recognized for the great things they've done for the business community in Sacramento County. I was not able to go to the Kiwanis crab feed because my husband was actually there working there with the Key Club children, working on that youth. And but the great thing about the Key Club youth is that they actually raised $1,000 more in tips this year. So they went from $2,000 to $3,000. So all their hard work paid off, and Mesa Verde was actually the ones that brought in the most volunteer hours, like 318 hours.
What does the Key Club do with what's their activities because they put all their tips into the club, and what do they do?
So it funds projects that they work on. It funds like a fun little field trip at the end of the year.
Oh.
And they also get T-shirts. And the thing about being part of a Key Club is that these youth have to actually pay their own dues in order to be part of it. So it really is teaching them about, being fiscally responsible and, showing up and actually being of community
I
service.
know they do a lot of community service.
Oh, they do a lot of community service. So I think by the time these kids are done, especially at Mesa, they have more than enough volunteer hours to graduate. That's not a problem for them, but they love getting out and being involved.
We appreciate that, too.
Yeah. And that's all I did.
What's January? We're just picking up the new year.
Speak for yourselves. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. I will let us move right along with nothing to report for myself.
Okay, well, I have a list. Let me put my glasses on. I started off on the 16th with the Sacramento Association of Realtors annual installation meeting. They have a great celebration for welcoming their new president every year. And I got to talk about Citrus Heights with people who are welcoming new residents, people who are moving around. And my central message to them was, bring us your clients. We are open for business. On the 20th, I joined my area group, Chasin, for their annual pizza party. Just a way to warm everybody up on a cold night and welcome people who've never been to the meeting before. Also on the 20th, I attended our wonderful Capital Region Mixer hosted by our own exec, Sherry Merrick, with a total of 10 chambers in attendance. That is very important that we are the central hub for that. We just talked about a hub. I think our community is largely gaining the reputation of we are the center where all the activity and fun is happening, and we want to keep up that reputation. So thank you, Sherry. I also attended the chamber luncheon that same afternoon, and it is also very nice to hear from our other electeds at the state level to hear what's brewing. The legislative session has just come back into session, and so there was not yet any movement on bills and other things that they're proposing. So, wait and see. On the 21st, I was very excited to attend the Education Committee 2x2 with our counterparts at the San Juan Unified School District. This is a very important meeting as we are an organized city with great representation for our educational partners. And part of the discussion was a letter that we are going to publish or issue from the mayor and the council to engage our middle school and high school students about what are they looking for in their community? How can we better serve our youth and give them places to engage here, not only in our community, but also in youth government? So what does that look like from their perspective? You want to serve someone, you got to ask them what they want. And so that is happening. That's something that came out of that meeting. On the 22nd, I attended our Cal Cities Sacramento Division reception, which is great. I'm all about welcoming new members to attend activities. And the important part about this is we are a part of over 400 different cities that come together to talk about legislative issues and work together on, from a city's point of view, how can we speak back to the process, how we can lend our voices to the process, and this is the location to do that. For SAC Library meeting, also on the 22nd was a wild and crazy day of meetings for me. They published their annual report, and I was elected vice chair of the SAC Library Board. And so I'm very proud to serve with Katie Maple as the chair, who is an elected official in the city of Sacramento. That morning, I attended the SAC Metro Air District. They also published their annual report. And the reason why I share this with you is if you are interested in what these various agencies are doing, their annual reports are great viewpoints of everything they've done to serve their communities within the past fiscal year. And so this is the time where they will show you and open all the books to what they've been doing. Very, very important resources. I mentioned that I am on a policy committee at Cal Cities, our joint city collaboration. And I am on the Environmental Quality Committee, considering my air quality engagement at the county level. And finally, this past weekend, I also went to the crab feed and just stuffed myself full of crab, and that is always a fun time. I was very delighted to hear that our Key Club students made so much more money, because anything we can do to support the enthusiasm of our youth to engage with our communities and neighborhoods is a good idea to me. And that is the end of my
And we had a
report.
really good student waiting on us at our table. We did. She was good.
All right, next item, please.
So our next item is the consent calendar. We have item 6, which is approval of minutes, and then we have item 7, which is the authorization to submit the permanent local housing allocation application and amendment number 2 of the 5-year spending plan.
All right, do I have a motion or a request to pull an item?
I'll make a motion. Approve consent.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Let's do that roll call vote.
Councilmember Karpinski Costa.
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez Taff.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is public hearings, item number 8. The subject is Commercial Property Reoccupancy Program Ordinance and Establishment of Fees. The recommendation is to introduce for first reading and read by title only and waive the first full reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 52 to the municipal code to establish a commercial property reoccupancy program, and to adopt a resolution adopting a fee schedule for the commercial property reoccupancy program.
Perfect, thank you very much. Just for the public's information, the way we run public hearings is the staff will do their presentation. Then we will have some questions from our city council. We will open public hearing for any public comments on the matter, close public hearing, ask if the council has any further comments, and then we go with our action items. Let's hear from staff.
Good evening, Mayor Lopez Taff, Vice Mayor Middleton, and members of City Council. I'm Megan Huber, Director of Economic Development and Community Engagement, here along with my colleague, Community Development Director Casey Kempenaar, to present on a proposed commercial property reoccupancy ordinance for consideration. Before we dive in, I want to reference a presentation that Council received last Council meeting that reviewed really comprehensive strategic planning work on Council's strategic goals to advance community image and blight abatement. We reviewed the toolbox that was built to achieve those goals in blight abatement and community beautification, and the success metrics that were achieved by deploying that toolbox. This item for consideration this evening is another option for a tool in that toolbox to advance community beautification. So to summarize some of what was heard in the presentation last council meeting, this is what that success has looked like over the past 3 years of City Council's really aggressive and goal-oriented strategic planning. There's really compelling before and afters that you can see on cleanups of illegal camping and dumping, of wayward shopping carts that weren't being returned, so we abated that blight, and other cleanups around the community. Some of the results that have been achieved through those tools in the toolbox is a 22% decrease in beautification service requests in 2025, which means this is taking effect, shared standards showing up, and more proactive work being done in beautification around public areas, public spaces, and rights-of-way. Additionally, we have seen a 32% decline in abandoned shopping carts in 2025. That is an example of the shopping cart ordinance in the blight abatement and community beautification toolbox. More great news is our community is seeing that as well. The city uses a tool called FlashVote, an online survey tool to gather statistically valid community sentiment data, and we benchmark our progress specifically in community beautification and blight abatement every year. And that means we have conclusive metrics, essentially a report card that definitively shows this progress. And in conclusion, community sentiment on blight abatement moved from unfavorable to favorable in just 2 years, which is powerful. So to continue this progress, during Council's annual strategic planning session this past March, we set an objective to allow for cost recovery and mitigate risk from vacant buildings, present a vacant building ordinance for Council's review and consideration. That was a staff recommendation as an option to continue momentum now that we have achieved such great progress in public spaces, how we can continue that momentum on private property and create shared standards for community beautification. We'll go through comprehensive outreach a little bit later in this presentation. I want to hit on an additional flash vote while we are talking about community sentiment data. A flash vote was issued on the topic of commercial vacancies, asking our community opinions to that effect. And these are some statistics that we gleaned from that survey. 93% of respondents have noticed vacant properties in Citrus Heights. Of those, 68% say vacancies are a public problem. 85% of respondents want enforceable upkeep and security standards for vacant properties. Finally, 79% of respondents support a registration and fee program to hold owners accountable. And that question was designed with this strategic objective in mind so that we can gather all data possible for Council's comprehensive consideration of this item. So before we go too deep into the ordinance, I'd like to pull up to a 30,000-foot perspective and really talk about what reinvestment means, how it's a coordinated strategy and a partnership. The ordinance that we're going to consider is one tool. The Economic Development Work Plan that Council unanimously approved is an entire suite into itself around business attraction, retention, how to invest and effectively reinvest in our commercial business community and work with all stakeholders to achieve our shared goals. So some of the categories in that work plan include policy reform, business attraction, and business development support. Diving a little bit deeper into what that looks like so that we know what the entire playbook is before we consider a singular tool. From a business-friendly regulation reform perspective, really deep work has been done on zoning code updates for more uses allowed by right, which means saving time, money, providing maximum certainty to businesses ready to invest in Citrus Heights and in Citrus Heights commercial real estate. Building code updates have been made to streamline requirements as much as possible. And additionally, we worked with our partners at Sacramento Metro Fire District to lessen requirements for reoccupancy while ensuring life safety. And we're really grateful for their partnership and support in all of that work. From a business attraction perspective, we are focusing in deeply on collaboration with our development partners, property owners, brokers, and the entire commercial business community. There are targeted and directed business attraction efforts underway that includes, but is not limited to, things like trade shows, direct outreach, and prospecting. In economic development circles, you'll sometimes heard it referred to as matchmaking, which I like, and marketing as well in a variety of forms. And finally, Council reinstituted our Business Attraction Incentive Program as part of the approval of the Economic Development Work Plan. Finally, the third category that was mentioned is development support. That includes the addition of an economic development analyst role that serves as a dedicated liaison for all businesses looking to come to Citrus Heights to make sure the path stays clear, there are no barriers, and everyone who wants to can come. It includes dedicated pre-application meetings to, again, do as much proactive work as possible, problem solve before there are problems, and make it as easy as possible to do business in Citrus Heights. We also offer some really great business support programs, including our small business design support program, our sign support program, and our facade improvement program. I took a little bit of time here to describe these categories and specific bullets so that we know, in addition to the very, very robust toolbox that we've built around community beautification in Citrus Heights, we've also built an extremely extensive toolbox for economic development. So as we approach this strategic objective of presenting council a vacancy ordinance for consideration, there was a lot of very deep research done. This is a relatively new and emerging tool in the state of California, and we reviewed over 10 city ordinances to understand best practices. Over 100 hours of staff time were spent on research because we wanted to know the good, the bad, the ugly about what it means to consider an ordinance like this so that there are no hidden surprises, and we're designing something customized that will provide the most benefit to Citrus Heights. And I want to pause here and recognize the staff team that worked on this. That included planner Stephanie Louie and economic development analyst Alicia Aguirre, who spent a lot of time, and not just time, but a lot of care and thoughtfulness on this ordinance for consideration. I can guarantee you that this is extremely customized for Citrus Heights. They connected with 5 peer jurisdictions, engaged them to understand the process and implementation insights. So again, we can learn as much as possible and avoid any bumps. And this really resulted in an ordinance draft that was customized for the Citrus Heights commercial landscape and its stakeholders so that we can achieve our shared goals. In addition to the deep research and iterative design, there was multi-pronged project input and outreach. We built a distribution list of stakeholders, including property owners, property managers, brokers, and other stakeholders, using active listings and all information available to us. Early feedback was requested from the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce and the Sunrise Marketplace. There were communications for each workshop. There were 2 in total, along with draft updates. There were 3 in total, coming to a final draft. The project webpage has been up over the life of the ordinance design since its initial launch, and it had 215 unique visitors. And finally, when we presented that commercial vacancy flash vote to City Council earlier this year, we heard you clearly that in addition to hearing from residents, you wanted to hear from commercial property owners. So I want to pause and really underscore, underline, and highlight here that we mailed over 450 letters that transparently and digestibly described the project that was underway to explore this ordinance, and that went to all Citrus Heights commercial property owners. So what we've really tried to impart throughout all communications and stakeholder engagement is that this ordinance was designed as a partnership. It is not meant to be punitive. It most likely will not reach full cost recovery because we designed this for no other reason but for compliance so that we can reach our shared goals of commercial property beautification together, attract more businesses, and make Citrus Heights more vibrant. So this is the way the partnership is designed. The City of Citrus Heights' role is to ensure that we are providing incentives and resources. We reviewed but we reviewed some of the highlights from the Economic Development Work Plan to that effect. It's our job to proactively reach out to brokers, owners, all stakeholders in the business community. It's absolutely our job to be an expert in and effective at helping to navigate zoning and code issues, again, to proactively problem solve. And we are also in charge of code compliance and public safety response. From a property owner perspective, we recognize that we have shared goals to fill vacancies and actively market those spaces. communicate plans for the property, and maintain safe, secure sites so that this real estate does remain relevant. And then together, we're really achieving shared goals of activating vacant space, creating more communication, and hopefully fewer issues, and improve safety and better upkeep. So this is a timeline and background of what stakeholder engagement has looked like. This strategic objective was set in March of this year. Staff spent a lot of time in research, again, to ensure we're creating something most customized for the Citrus Heights community, a few months to that order. We released version 1 of the draft ordinance and routed for feedback late July. We presented to the Sunrise Marketplace Board of Directors. For those who might not be familiar, Sunrise Marketplace is the property business improvement district that represents property owners and our business community along the Sunrise corridor between Greenback and Madison. We hosted our first community workshop mid-August where we received feedback. We issued the flash vote survey on commercial vacancies in August and presented that to City Council in September. We spent October and November incorporating the feedback from all stakeholder outreach and that first community workshop. In November, in response to council feedback, we sent a letter to 468 property owners with links to the ordinance draft itself and a survey so that they can easily and accessibly give their feedback. And then in November, we presented a second version of the ordinance that had incorporated all feedback gathered to the Sunrise Marketplace along with the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce Board. We hosted a second community workshop in December that presented version 2 of the draft ordinance. We dialed in the ordinance for a final time, again, incorporating continued feedback. Because it's our goal to have as much stakeholder consensus as possible, and we're creating something custom tailored for Citrus Heights. And we presented that to Sunrise Marketplace Board of Directors here in the last week or so. So this slide is a summary of property owner sentiment and responses to those surveys. Again, as I mentioned, we mailed over 450 surveys to all commercial property owners. We received 3 responses. We received 3 responses. 1 out of 3 of the responding property owners would support the potential ordinance, which goes to say 2 out of the 3 would not support. And then of note, 20 mailers were returned, 20 plus mailers were returned as undeliverable. That list was designed using publicly available data through county assessors.
So Megan did a good job of explaining how we got here and what the ordinance looks like, and I'm going to explain a little bit about the why and then how it works in practice. A lot of what we heard about was related to why doesn't code enforcement just do this? Well, code enforcement, as you all know, doesn't really get involved until there's a problem. And the whole point of this ordinance is to prevent problems from happening, from creating that slippery slope where code enforcement has to get involved. So this ordinance looks at preventing those safety concerns, blight, fire, and vandalism that we've seen in some of our vacant buildings that has caused a problem. And that leads into making those buildings no longer leasable. As buildings get broken into or things along those lines, the copper gets stolen out, and it's just that much harder to re-lease out a building. And then we continue to see it decline and pull down the surrounding areas. So we want to keep this ordinance will help us keep properties leasable and market ready. We know that early action before there's a problem, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we know that there's a hunger to continue to build on the city's recent success reducing visible blight more onto private properties. So this is the ordinance works. There's kind of 3 main components: registration, monitoring, and fees, and I'll touch on each of those next. Registration, we heard loud and clear. We don't want this to be a burden on folks to get their properties registered, but we can really get some useful information from the registration process and ensure we have appropriate contacts in a case of emergency. You can see here This is a mock-up of what an application would look like. Now, keep in mind, our applications are going all electronic, but this kind of just gives you a framework of what that would look like. And we really tried to keep it very simple and straightforward to fill out. It's kind of similar to like a business license application. It looks, we're just getting key information. Who's the owner? When was it last occupied? Do you have multiple properties? Are you designated an authorized agent to represent you, so that person that is locally available to contact in case of emergency? And then are you complying with the ordinance? The ordinance requires you to have monitor burglar alarm or active monitoring. It requires you to have working fire sprinklers if you're already equipped with fire sprinklers. And if you have fire sprinklers, are they monitored as well? Do you have insurance, and is the building secured? So just kind of general questions confirming that you align with the ordinance. And then there's an option to fill out more information. This is what I'm doing to secure my property. This is where I could use help. And then there's a question related to, hey, do you want our economic development folks to reach out to you and help you make a plan for how to get this building back occupied? And then last but not least, we heard from some property owners that have a portfolio of properties. This is going to be a burden. If I have 5 properties, I'm going to fill this out 5 times. So the application is set up in a way that if you have multiple properties, you click on a box and you add in more information about your other properties. So it's a one-stop application, and that's completed once a year. And through the process, as Director Hubert covered, there was various iterations as we received feedback and consideration and suggestions. We did the first version had, I'm just going to go down the line here. The first version had a registration that was required within 30 days of vacancy. We heard from property owners that could be a little bit burdensome. There's a lot going on, and when you have a vacancy, so they asked for a longer time frame. So we bumped that up to 60 days, which they were generally happy with. They also, in version 3, the registration had a requirement for a sign to be on the property, so we know who to contact. It had some address information that some of the community business owners felt like was better to be protected. All we really need is the phone number on the sign, so we made that change. There were some concerns raised in earlier versions that property owners with low-lying property are getting caught up in this process and having to do this process, and it was edited. So if your property is in good repair and you are self-registering, all you have to do is register, and there is no fees, and it's a very simple process. We also heard a variety of concerns related to offices. As I mentioned earlier, if you have an office or a portfolio of buildings, you can register one time. That's helpful. And then also, we had a lot of concern with offices. There's a churn that happens in offices. Sometimes you have tenants, they're rarely 100% occupied, so it seemed a little burdensome from offices. But we recognize there are some offices that are 100% vacant. Still could be a problem. We want to make sure they're not getting destroyed or vandalized. So we, excuse me, the third version of this included a provision that if you're an office and it's over 50% leased and you have no active code violations, you're completely exempt from the ordinance. And lastly, on costs, excuse me. We modified the ordinance so if you self-register your property as vacant and we don't have to come find you and make you register, that cost is removed. You do not have to pay that cost to register your property. It's just filling out the form and you're on your way. Next. In terms of fees, so we looked at this in a way to recover the city's cost in delivering this service. We calculated what it would cost to process and monitor this process based on time and materials for city staff for a fully burdened rate, and that helped us by the hours. That came up with a fee. And as you see on the top, the white lines, this is for a small lot. So you have if you're subject to the fees, there's an annual registration fee of $1,092 and an annual monitoring fee for $1,100. That totals the $2,220 for the small lot, and that's for properties that are under 1 acre in size. We know that larger properties often have more problems, more challenges, and require more care. So those, the way we calculated that was a 3-time multiplier times a small lot. That gives you the $66.60 monitoring fee. But I want to be clear, if you proactively register your property and your property meets requirements, it's well-kept, you have it secured, you have an alarm system, there is going to be no fee. It's just you register, and you get in touch with our staff, and you have us as a resource. That's your only steps along the way. And then if you are a business that is subject to monitoring fees, and you happen to you pay those up front for the year, and if you happen to get a tenant in that year, there's a prorated return for that monitoring fee that once you have someone in that building. We had a lot of questions related to how the implementation is going to work, and if the council passes this, what is that timeframe going to look like? It's going to take us a while to build the infrastructure. We need to build the software to allow people to easily get on and register and allow staff to track that information, as well as training staff. So we're not sure on what exact timeline will be yet, but it's going to be several months, and we're committed to, and we've been keeping everyone informed that is subject to this, that, hey, this is coming. We don't want it to be a surprise. We're going to continue to work through our partners, the Chamber, SMP, and others, to continue to get the word out that, hey, this is going to come, and this is when it's going to launch, and really try to make sure that there's no surprises as people get into this and this comes into effect. And we're really, we really are focused on compliance and partnership. We'd rather not take the money. We'd rather have these businesses leased up and have tenants in there, but we need that as a tool to help encourage that and move forward. You have received a couple of letters in your packet, one from the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce and one from Chasen, both of those supporting the ordinance. We also had a variety of suggestions to incorporate during implementation, which were really good suggestions that we plan to incorporate into our process if this moves forward. The first option being our police department recommends letter of agency for our commercial properties, allows them to go on the property and deal with any challenges without having to track someone down. So we're going to incorporate that into the application, that you can fill that out as part of your application process. We're going to use the information gathered for the marketing and business development. That's going to be a good tool for our economic development team as they reach out and try to match make with potential tenants to property owners. And then also checking in. We will do a check-in about 6 months after the program goes live to share the council, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's working, this is what's not, we might need some changes, or everything's great. And so within 6 months, we would come back to you with a status report of how that's going. So the motions recommended for you are on the screen, and we're available for any questions.
All right, do we have any questions from our council members?
Yes.
Okay, let's go for it, Jana.
Hang on. Is there a failure to register issue? If you can't reach 20 people got your returns, I mean, what happens to those 20? They probably won't get the notice to register. So what happens if you don't register?
We're going to be really proactive in making sure we get the word out, but we also have our code enforcement team to help track people down if they're not complying with ordinances. But our hope is to continue to get the word out with our partners to make sure everyone gets registered. And that's part of the problem the ordinance seeks to solve, is making sure we have the right people to get a hold of, because sometimes
I think that's the problem.
That the assessor data is delayed. Sometimes it's going to a PO box that no one's checking. So one of the benefits of this ordinance is making sure we have the right person to get a hold of. It benefits us in a lot of ways. If there's an emergency, if there's a tenant lead, and that's kind of the focus, is trying to get the list updated. So the first little bit will take some work to get that list populated, but once we have that, it'll be a resource that we continue to use in the future.
So then the next thing is, the owner of a property might own a whole bunch of little stores inside, lots of stores. Let's just take the mall as an example. So is he one registration, or is each little store?
It's per parcel.
So per parcel.
So you fill out one.
So the vacancy wouldn't a lease, sometimes you have a lease and you're responsible to lease it. If you break your lease, you got to get the sub-lessee. In other words, not the owner's fault, it's the lessee's fault.
Ultimately, the property owner is who's held accountable when there's issues of code enforcement and things along those lines.
They may have to remodel their lease agreements. No? I mean, because
I think ultimately,
there might be some issues in your first 6 months that you might run across that you don't know about. Okay. 3 responses bothers me, that they just, but okay. That's good for now.
Any other comments? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, I have a comment about this. I sat in on, I think this is in November, I sat in on a property owner outreach event that was held by Casey and Megan. I think they did a great job explaining this. I think I'm pretty convinced that they have done a pretty good job at vetting this program out. And it is, I know that it is really difficult when property changes hands, we don't get notified. So even if we had all this information today, and somebody registered today and they sold their property, there's no obligation, as far as I know, and maybe Casey, you can shed some light on this. Does this ordinance require any notification to the city if the property is sold?
There's not necessarily a trigger by selling it, but the ordinance is whoever is the owner on record is responsible for filing that once they are made
It could be years before they get reported. We could be chasing, at least we could be chasing an unresponsive owner for years without knowing that they've sold the property.
I think.
And I do think this is a step in the right direction. I think it has some, it has real merit, but I think that this is going to be, this not going to be a small amount of work to do this. But great job, Casey and Megan. Great, awesome work here.
Thank you, Councilmember Schaefer. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. To follow up on that, I suppose, when a property is sold, it's recorded, like you mentioned, right? So there's updated information with the county recorder's office, but it's delayed sometimes, you said?
Yeah, sometimes it takes several months for that to hit, and then sometimes it's not always it's like I said, to a PO box or a corporation. I think by having the registry, we at least know who the seller is, and hopefully we can reach out to them and they say, this is who I sold it to, this is the right contact. So I think the transfer of properties will probably work itself out a little bit more than starting in the beginning.
Okay, yeah, and along with the transfer of property, I do have sympathy for an untold amount of these property owners who maybe have inherited the property. I know that there's a generational, transfer of property right now as people are aging out and moving on to their great reward. So I wonder, I know we don't have demographics on these owners because we don't have their contact information, but I do personally wonder and sympathize with how many of them are kind of caught up in that they've inherited the property and they kind of don't know what's going on with it at all.
I can speak to that anecdotally from my experience on the ground. We always keep sharp eyes on available properties and sites so that we can readily refer businesses. And what you're describing is a relatively common occurrence, not just for Citrus Heights, but for any commercial real estate. And the fact of the matter is, when it gets to that point, it's a burden for everyone. I mean, I've spoken to many families who have ownership that are really frustrated because they're not even necessarily interested in owning that property anymore, and they're not at a point to invest in it enough to make it relevant again. So it is, in fact, total gridlock, which doesn't provide benefit for anyone, not for a community, not for a potential business, and not for that family.
Well, thank you for that insight. Any further questions?
I got one.
All right.
So if you have to be 75% occupied, is that what I read?
That was initially one of the initial proposals, and due for a variety of factors, that's no longer required. So if you have a vacancy, any percentage, we want to know about it, and we want to make sure that that space is secured properly.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing, so let's go ahead and open public hearing. Do we have any speakers on this item?
I do not have any speaker sheets for this item.
Okay. Has anyone changed their mind and would like to speak on this item? Okay, we will close public hearing. It looks like we have our recommended motions before us. Do we have anyone who's interested in asking a question or making a motion?
I have one more.
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor.
I have another question.
Oh, we have one more question.
I just got a little thing that's bothering me. Okay, so what would have prevented Elephant Bar from becoming what it is today? If he's not a property owner, correct?
Its underlying owner is,
But it's part of a bigger thing. So would that have been okay?
no, the vacant, once Elephant Bar became vacant, they would be required to register that. They'd be required to have an active alarm that was working, and that was one of the big problems of why Elephant Bar got to the point that it is there is no active alarm out there.
So-
And
So the owner of the property would have been required, under our ordinance, the owner would report he has one vacancy on his property, and then he'd have to show he had adequate alarms.
secured it and had adequate alarms
And all
and
the-
kept it up, yeah,
Yeah, no trash and all that stuff.
correct.
Okay, all right, that solves my problem.
All right, it looks like all of our questions and discussion has been resolved. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move that we introduce a first reading read by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance number 2026, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, adding Chapter 52 to the Citrus Heights Municipal Code to establish a commercial property reoccupancy program.
Second.
What, is this one motion, or can we need to take this in two, or what do we, one vote or two votes?
Ryan is indicating that we need to take them separately, and we
Okay.
do have a second with Dr. Karpinski-Costa. And I think we need to take a vote?
Yes.
Roll call.
We'll call roll call. Councilmember Karpinski-Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton?
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez Taft.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion, adopt Resolution 2026, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, adopting a fee schedule for the commercial property reoccupancy program.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and take roll call vote.
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton?
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez Taft.
Aye. All right. Next item, please.
The next item is regular calendar, item number 9. The subject is homeless and housing partnership model and Senate Bill 802 discussion.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Ash Finney, your city manager. I just wanted to say a few comments about this item before you hear our staff presentation on it. Two items tonight. One is the county's proposal, and you'll hear from Sacramento County staff about a proposed homeless and housing partnership model. And then you'll also hear about Senate Bill 802. And there's been discussion about both of these items for well over a year. The county's been in discussion about the partnership model for some time, and you'll hear some of the history on that. And then after the housing partnership model discussions began, Senator Ashby proposed a Senate Bill 802. The council was aware of some discussion around that. There was a position of opposition that the council, or that actually the mayor, former mayor at the time, had signed a letter about. And so tonight on both these items, you'll hear the latest and greatest relative to where those stand today, and you'll have an opportunity to take some positions on both of those items and or provide feedback as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to our staff team that's been involved on both of these actions.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you for that introduction. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Nicole Piva, Housing and Human Services Program Coordinator with the Community Development Department. Along with me is Casey Kempenar, Community Director of the Community Development Department. And
The purpose of tonight's item is to hear a presentation from county staff regarding their recommended option, to hear a presentation on the proposed Senate bill, SB 802, and then we'll ask for you to provide direction on the city's position regarding the county's recommended option, and also provide direction on the city's position regarding SB 802. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Emily Halkin, Director of Homeless Services and Housing for Sacramento County.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you. Good to be back. Oops. As Nicole said, my name is Emily Halkin. I'm the Director of the Department of Homeless Services and Housing with Sacramento County, and it's good to be back with you. I think we were together late last fall on the same topic. Okay, so as Nicole and Ash shared, a little bit of history of sort of how we got here. As the staff have said, we've been working on addressing how we work together collaboratively with our city partners and our continuum of care for well over a year. In 2023, there was a report commissioned by the county and Sacramento Steps Forward to look at some options that were available for us. This was in part spurred by some grand jury reports at the time, but really it was more in recognition of the growing complexity of the homeless challenges we have here, new and diverging funding for these programs, and frankly some frustrations we'd heard from local electeds around the Homeless Policy Council, and of course seeing some of the impacts that at least the city of Sacramento and county had achieved through our partnership agreement. And so in early 2025, the Board of Supervisors gave the county staff some explicit direction to hold a workshop around homeless partnerships and governance. And we brought that into public session in August with the Board of Supervisors. Out of that workshop with the board in August, the board provided direction that we take the model that at the time, you'll recall, we sort of deemed option A and option B to the balance of the cities throughout the county. And it had leading up to what was the joint meeting in October 28th that some of you attended. Following that joint meeting in October and the recommendation from Mosaic Consulting Firm, and I believe that report is included in your staff report today, the county staff slightly modified our recommendation, which was approved by the Board of Supervisors in December. And again, staff were directed to come back to our partner cities to elicit the input from you on this modified model. I'm going to show it to you and go through it in a little bit more detail, but just want to point out, for those of you who recall my presentation back in, I believe it was September now, that the main difference in this current recommendation is that we use the existing administrative infrastructure that we already have with the Continuum of Care Board. This came out of the Mosaic report. They suggested using that infrastructure was wiser in the scenarios that we have now rather than creating a whole new board, especially given some of the uncertainty of federal funds. And it also revises the membership of that COC board to a majority of elected officials, but does retain seats for community members. And while it's not necessarily shown in the report, the COC also took a different model to the COC board in December that contemplated keeping the COC separate from the body of elected officials, but that model did not pass through the COC. So this is the visual of the model that was shared with our Board of Supervisors in December. Hopefully it's a little bit less busy than the one we shared in October. And I'm going to really quickly run through this with you. What this demonstrates is there's sort of three modalities of topics that are sort of at play here and who oversees each of them. The yellow column demonstrates those functions that are the responsibility of the continuum of care. These are pretty set out in federal statute, things like administering the homeless management information system, operating the coordinated access system, holding the point in time count, which we are doing this week, and managing the federal funds that come through the continuum of care program. In the middle, the green column is really the modality of work that I think is most at question currently in all of these conversations. That is, who is responsible in our community to set a community-wide vision, set strategies and goals, and oversee the implementation of cross-jurisdictional efforts to prevent and end homelessness. And then the third column in blue is jurisdictional administration. These are things that I think are pretty clearly the responsibility of cities and the county. These are things like budgeting your local housing dollars, making land use decisions as they relate to housing or homeless efforts. So moving down to the rows, the current model is that the COC board really sits apart from those other two activities. I think last time we talked a little bit about who the COC board is, and I'm happy to delve more into that if needed. But just as a reminder, currently the COC board is almost predominantly non-elected officials. It was all non-elected until last month when 4 elected members, 2 from the Sacramento City Council and 2 from the Board of Supervisors, were appointed. But the current makeup of the COC board is 4 elected officials, 12 staff from the government sector, that includes law enforcement, 5 staff of various nonprofits, and those are nonprofits who do operate in the homeless and housing space in our community and oftentimes are funded by the cities and the county, and 8 what I would call community members, including folks with lived experience. So we have a board of 29 people currently. That board meets and administers the COC functions, but you can see on the right, the strategy setting, goal setting really is done independently at the Board of Supervisors as well as at each city council. And so there is no direct connection right now, or formal connection, I should say, between the COC board and the work that you're doing here at your council that we're doing at the Board of Supervisors. There certainly are ad hoc meetings. October 28th is a great example of that. There's a lot of staff interaction, but there's really no formal relationship between the work and decisions made at these two entities. So hearing the input that we heard from all of you guys over the past few months from Mosaic, we have modified to what we're now calling recommended option, which is outlined here in red, where we take the existing COC board and reconstitute it. And reconstitute it such that the majority of the members are elected officials. At this point, we're not enumerating what that board would be. Currently, the board's 29 members. That might be too large, but we would want to see at least 51% of the seated membership be elected officials from across the community. And that the balance of the board would be consistent of community leaders and decision-making roles. So this might be somebody from the Chamber of Commerce or a hospital system at a decision-making level. And this is really so that we ensure that integration of the work that's happening in the homeless system of care with those other integral systems is really tight. With that COC board would become a Brown Act body. We'd have a number of elected officials sitting on there, and that then formalizes the relationship between what's happening at the COC board to the work that's happening at the Board of Supervisors and the various city councils. In that way, then, the COC board would also take over that role of community-wide strategy and policy setting. They would not take over administration of funds from local jurisdictions, unless at some future point you wanted to consider that, but at initiation we are not considering that. But they would, by virtue of having one or more of you or other elected sitting on that, there would be that formalized relationship, much like there is on many other boards that I'm sure many of you sit on throughout the community. This was the recommended option that was unanimously passed by our Board of Supervisors, but we recognized and had quite a conversation with them that the only way to reconstitute the COC board is if the COC itself elects to do that. The Board of Supervisors cannot mandate actions of the COC board, nor can any of the city councils. And so right at that point in time, we did not know if the COC was interested in reconstitution. We still don't formally know. They have not taken this up for a vote. So the board then authorized us to move forward should the COC not wish to participate on what's called alternative option here. And the alternative option would still create a formalized Brown Act body consisting of elected officials. This is what in the past version we called the Sacramento Homeless and Housing Board, to do that broader policy, conversation, strategy, et cetera, and would create that formal relationship between electeds across the community with each of the city councils and Board of Supervisors. But what it would do is leave the continuum of care sort of alone, just administering COC activities. That is not the desire of the Board of Supervisors, both because we see value in combining and lifting up the work of the COC to the work that's happening here. And administratively, it still creates two distinct bodies, and I think some confusion for the community. Finally, we show here that JPA option. It's definitely not, the Board of Supervisors is not supportive of that, but we did sort of show it here so you could sort of measure it up against the other ones as you're contemplating conversations, the priorities for the Citrus Heights. Finally, what I want to say about this visual is while it's not shown on here, this really is 30,000-foot level, sort of how decision makers are seated. In the recommended option, we do envision having a very robust, what we call system leadership group. That would be lead staff from each of the jurisdictions. So, for example, might be Nicole and myself and others from the cities regularly meeting to support the work of that new board, support each other on new program development, maybe new funding opportunities, et cetera. That leadership group would also include our partners from the Housing and Redevelopment Agency and, of course, the system lead for the COC, who currently is Sacramento Steps Forward. So next steps for us, as I said, the board approved that recommended option in December. We are now going and bringing this back to each of the city councils. The city of Sacramento heard it on January 13th, although I'll say a little bit about what happened there. Rancho Cordova heard it last night. We are both in Citrus Heights and Elk Grove as we speak, so my colleagues in Elk Grove hearing from them. And then we have Galt and Folsom coming up in early February. Pending the input from the other cities, we would then request the continuum of care to agendize the same model. As I mentioned before, they have not yet agendized this, so we can discern whether they are willing to partner with us. And pending their input, we would then pursue the reconstitution of the COC board, including creating the governance charters and all the documents and that would need to actually create this. One little footnote, the city of Sacramento, if you did not hear, they did on January 13th, staff did take this recommendation, the same one we took to the Board of Supervisors. The Sacramento City Council gave direction to their staff, however, to pursue a JPA and to not pursue, at this time, the county's direction. We are still very interested in working with the other cities, and so here we are tonight to hear from you. And I will certainly share out, and I'm sure Nicole will as well, how the other cities weigh in as we make our way through the next couple of weeks. So that concludes my comments. I didn't know if you wanted questions for me or have Nicole continue on. I'm open to either.
What's the pleasure of the council? Do you want to ask questions now or let Nicole go forward? Let's hear from Nicole as one. Yeah? Okay, head nods. Tim?
Yes, let Nicole move forward.
Okay, let's hear from Nicole then. Thank you.
All right, so in June 2025, Senator Ashby introduced the Senate bill, SB 802, which proposes the creation of Sacramento Area Housing and Homeless Agency, also known as SAHA. The bill would restructure the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency with the goal of consolidating regional housing and homelessness programs and funding. So while this is a broad support for regional collaboration, a shared accountability, there still remains a lot of concerns and potential impacts of this bill. If it is passed, the bill would change the governance of housing and homelessness initiatives across the region. Under this bill, it would be an 11-member board of elected officials. You have 3 from the city of Sacramento, 3 from the county of Sacramento, 2 from Elk Grove, and 1 each from Citrus Heights, Folsom, and Rancho Cordova. The bill would centralize affordable housing homeless funding across Sacramento County, reallocating local housing funds under this new SAHA to oversee and coordinate programs and funding. The bill was introduced without input from local governments, leading the city of Citrus Heights to formally opposing the bill in June. And it was based on its core pillars of local control and fiscal responsibility. in addition to the city opposing the bill, it was a regional opposition to the bill. So regional opposition to the bill prompted Senator Ashby to convene discussions with city managers across Sacramento County. Through those discussions, city managers negotiated revisions to protect local control and funding. The proposed amendments preserved city authority over the Community Development Block Grant Funds, also known as CDBG. We have our Home Investment Partnership Funds, which is our home funds, and Housing Trust and Impact Fee Funds. However, it remains unclear other current or future funding sources, such as our Permanent Local Housing Allocation or our PIP housing, pro-housing incentive funds, or any other similar programs. That would remain under local jurisdictions. Staff has reached out to Ashby's office to get more clarification on this topic. The amendments were released reflecting the negotiated agreements. However, Senator Ashby did state that if all three cities, Citrus Heights, Elk Grove, and Rancho Cordova, did not withdraw their opposition, local control protections would be removed and all housing funds from all three cities would be redirected to the new SAHA. So some key actions, as Emily mentioned, both the county and Senator Ashby is requesting feedback. Shown in bold are the city council meeting dates for each jurisdiction. We did hear that the city of Sacramento voted 7-2 to pursue a joint powers authority. Last night, city of Rancho Cordova, they are going to remain neutral to SB 802 and support the county's recommended option. Then Elk Grove and us are going tonight, and then mid-February, the city of Galt and the city of Folsom. It is known that the city of Folsom remains opposed to SB 802, but they have not discussed their position on the county's model. So with that, we can open it up to questions, and we'd like to hear your feedback on both of the items, whether you support the model, oppose the model, remain neutral, or if you have any other direction that you'd like to provide.
Let's open it up for council comments and questions. I'll start with you, Councilmember Schaefer, so I don't miss you again.
Thank you. I had a feeling it was going to go that way. So I do like the county's model. And certainly my concern with SB 802 is it's a pretty gross overreach into local control overall. And so certainly the knee-jerk reaction is to oppose this, the holding the carrot out that, hey, we won't take your local funding. About $1.4 million, I think, is where it is right now. We won't take your local funding if you don't oppose this. Well, I think that's a pretty empty promise in that, because I don't think, having worked in the state for years and understanding how the state works, it's only, okay, so maybe the first year they won't take it. But the next year, when it comes down, ultimately the state has a budget crisis, and the timing of this is, I think selling out for what I think is an empty promise is not something I'm willing to do. So my position is that we should oppose SB 802 and support the county's program. And again, I want to reiterate that from a social services standpoint, I think we spend our money well. I think we use this money to support infrastructure, to support our local nonprofits, and this a vote to be neutral on this hurts them, and it hurts them in the long run. So again, I will fight tooth and nail to oppose this, because I think it's an absolute overreach on the state's jurisdiction.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Schaefer. Let's go with Councilmember Nelson. Thoughts on, or anyone else who has thoughts?
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like we're in an unfortunate position here where we're likely going to create a duplicative effort either way, whether there's a JPA created or if we go with the alternate option. I like the county's plan currently. I think that it would be great to have elected officials make up most of the continuum of care board. I am apprehensive because we'll see if they vote to rearrange the board. So if they don't, we'd be creating that additional JPA. It just seems inefficient. And I would rather be efficient and effective with our dollars and our time to combat this problem. So I'm inclined to go with the county model. I would like to continue the neutral position on 802 begrudgingly. I would like to see if Senator Ashby is open to amending the language further on 802, that the makeup of the board precludes multiple county supervisors who serve the city of Sacramento from being on the board. I would like to see the weight of representatives be for the suburban cities. So that'd be my feedback.
Mayor, if I can make a quick comment, and that is the council members starting to talk about their positions. I think maybe we want to have public comment before we lay out how the votes are. Certainly they can make comments and deliberate, but I think it'd be helpful to hear from the public as well.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for redirecting us. And yes, does anyone else on council have questions for clarity of Nicole or our county counterparts? Okay. Councilmember Karpinski.
I have a question for county. So how do we know our funds are safe in your model?
Well, I think we'll work together. We don't have any way to take any of your money. I don't believe, and I'm not a lawyer, but I don't believe we have any way to do that.
But you said the electeds on your model would decide how the funding is spent.
The only funding that would be at play in the county's model is the COC funding, which currently does serve the entire county. So those electeds would have jurisdiction over the COC funding as well as the the Homeless and Housing Assistance Program, the state funds that come directly to the COC. In the future, should any of the participating jurisdictions wish to divert funds, I think there could be mechanisms for that, but at the start, we are not contemplating that. I don't think there's any mechanism. Similarly, the county wouldn't contemplate initially putting our local funds into that new model. It's really more of a way. Our proposal is let's lift up the COC closer to the work that you're doing here and get more consistency and input from local electeds on the COC world, which is something we heard pretty consistently through the Mosaic report.
And so what's the composition of the board? You said you don't know what it is?
So we're not trying to be prescriptive here. That was something during the last version with option A and option B, I think, was concerning for some folks. The only thing that we are saying for sure is that at least 51% of the voting membership be elected officials.
Doesn't mean that much, because Citrus Heights would be less than 51%. I mean, Citrus Heights would have generally one vote amongst, do you have 29 people?
Well, I would recommend not having a 29-person board.
So I just kind of have a problem diluting out the city's participation that way.
I think those conversations are up for discussion. The 29-member board is in no way by statute. You could have a COC board that's 7 people or 50 people, and so I would not recommend 50. I wouldn't recommend 29. I think that we would need to work together with the COC and all the cities to determine what is the appropriate size so that there is adequate representation, not just from jurisdictional partners, but also from our community partners. But the strong sense that we heard through the Mosaic report from elected officials is that because you are elected and there is a level of transparency and accountability, that they really strongly felt that that needed to be at least the majority.
And there's a current board, the one that Mary Jane was on, that never met. What did that board look like?
So, I'm not sure if you want to.
Yeah, that was an advisory board that had no voting rights on the COC.
Okay.
Yes.
So
and
the electeds were advising the non-electeds there? Is that what you're saying?
Potentially. I mean, currently, the COC board has historically, way back when, may have had some elected officials, but as long as I've been here, has not. Just recently, there was 2 members of the Sacramento City Council and 2 members of the Board of Supervisors appointed. That was effectively because some new funding regulations from HUD required that, and they've literally been on the board for, I think, 2 months now. So that's starting to step towards electeds, but, 4 of 29 clearly is not a majority.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Tim, you have any further questions or comments?
No, thank you.
All right, wonderful. Let's hear from our public. Do we have any public comment on this item?
I currently don't have any speaker sheets unless there's anybody from the audience that is interested in speaking.
All right, do we have anyone who's now thought I should speak on this item? Feel free to come up and make your comments known. Seeing none, let's move on. Oh, come on up. Yes, we want to hear from our youth. Thank you. So feel free to state your name and then you may comment.
My name is Aiden Jennings. I'm from Center High School. I just had a question about the 29 members. I keep hearing a lot about the 29 members. Is there a reason why there's 29? Like, does everybody have a specific job title, or is it just like just a random number?
That is such a good question, and I'm going to refer to our county partner for that intel. Yes, please.
So COCs are mandated by the federal government, and the only mandate
Can you
is...
tell him what COC?
Sorry, yes, I apologize, thank you. COC is a continuum of care, which is mandated by federal statute, and it really is supposed to be representative of entities and partners working collectively to prevent and end homelessness. But federal statute does not dictate how that membership is collected or maintained, nor does it dictate how the board, who is a portion of that membership, is seated. So I'm saying all that because you see one COC board, you've seen one COC board. The 29, I think, is just how we sort of ended up here and locally. But to your question, the only dedicated seats, there is at least one mandated seat for a person with lived experience of homelessness, and in our continuum of care, there's at least one mandated seat for a youth. The balance of them could be anybody, and they have been varied seats. So I sit as a member of, and Nicole sits as government representatives, but there's not a dedicated seat, if that makes sense. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that answers all for me. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for being brave. Any
Mayor-
other questions, comments? Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we should end public comment or continue on with that. I do have one more question.
It looks like we have another question. Come on up. Thank you.
Do I also state my name?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. My name is Mary Rose McCoy, and I'm looking for more clarification on the involvement of COC with more of the funding, because I'm confused of whether or not they're asking for a majority of funding or if they're looking for more funding involvement in solving the homeless issue.
All right, now we have the excellent question of funding. What's the funding breakdown and what's the money?
These are really great questions. So the continuum of care has jurisdiction over continuum of care funding, which comes directly from the federal government. When the continuum of care program was developed in the federal government, which was in 1994, that pretty much was the entirety or the vast majority of funding for homelessness. Most of it goes to permanent housing, and it mostly goes to sustain existing permanent housing where people who used to be homeless live. Fast forward to today, the COC funding represents only about 10% of our local investment into homelessness and housing. So part of the disconnect here is that we have this separate entity controlling, it's about $40 million a year, decisions and funding allocations for that $40 million. But we also have the County of Sacramento and all of the cities putting forward their own funding to address similar problems, and sometimes in collaboration, but sometimes not. And so the COC, the impact of the COC dollars over time has really changed as localities and the state have really upped their local investments in homelessness. And for the students, because we've been presenting on this for so much, I have many PowerPoint presentations on this, and I'm happy to share them with you because COCs are a somewhat confusing function, in my opinion, of federal statutes. So I'm happy to share those with you. If you leave your name with Nicole, we can forward you all the past board letters that we have.
Look at that, you got bonus information.
Yes, and that does conclude my questioning.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Catching the fever? All right, looks like we don't see any more public comment. We'll close public comment and we'll return to comments with council.
Thank you, Mayor. My additional question was to follow up on the funding. Are you aware of how many representatives on the continuum of care work for organizations that receive funding from the county?
I believe 5 of the 29 members currently do, notwithstanding employees who obviously receive funds by being employed. But nonprofits, yeah, there's 5 nonprofit staff.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I have a list of thoughts here. One is that our permanent local housing allocation is not currently protected under the Senate bill, and I think that's something that we really need to kind of consider if we choose to move to neutral, is that we need to kind of protect more of our resources. Also, when I'm looking at the makeup of the proposed JPA, we need to talk about the fact that we, as smaller suburban areas, could be easily overtaken and outvoted. So we need to have like maybe a super majority voting requirement for all decisions that kind of address, where's my notes here? That allows us to allows folks not to have like dominance over our decision making, so make sure the funding is actually pieced out across the region. Also, there's no guarantee for geographic equity. I mean, at least if we're working with the county, we can ensure that we're going to get a piece of something. If we have this JPA, I sit on the Metro Cable Board, I sit on STA. I've seen when you have these majority boards and everything goes focused towards downtown. What else? And just a stronger, it was mentioned previously, but we need a stronger clarification for unfunded mandates and staffing. We already shoulder so much, and to move into a JPA and to dedicate staff time and resources, it's just not right. You know, it continues to erode our local control. I just don't see, we're as a smaller city, we are in a position where we are, I mean, we could take the risk and go with the county's model, which, I mean, I think on one hand, I feel like it's a great opportunity to see if we can make it work with our regional partners, or we also end up losing our funding. We put that up for risk, and we won't be able to service Meals on Wheels and other programs that we do here in Citrus Heights. If we take the risk and go with the senator's bill, there's no guarantee there that money is going to stay there. There might not be clawbacks and pullbacks. We're putting ourselves in a position where we are being forced, in essence, to join a JPA. And if that is what the will of the council is, we should make sure that we negotiate as strongly as we can to make sure that our residents don't feel that impact, or we lessen that impact as much as possible.
Vice Mayor, I appreciate all of your comments. Do we have any further comments?
I hope so.
Okay.
One thing missing from your timeline is that somewhere right before the meeting with city managers, she met with all the mayors. And I attended at her Senate office along with the mayors of all the cities, including the mayor of Sacramento. And one thing was clear to me, because I had never really met Senator Ashby before, is her passion for this subject. When she was elected to city council, back when she ran for city council, she ran on a platform of dealing with homelessness. She was appalled at the grand jury reports that showed that it wasn't making that much progress. And so her passion to solve she wasn't trying to get at the city. She was really trying to come to find out what can be done where the county is spending $418 million and it hasn't looked any better. And, generally over the county with all the sources of funding. And so I felt we gave her input sitting there in her office that she right then and there changed, such as the alternate would be another elected official and not a staff person, so that the jurisdiction still had the governance model. She then, she knocked a lot of stuff out of that original bill. And then she met with all the city managers, and I want to commend our city manager for, talking to her at the wee hours of the morning before our presentation on the state capitol steps. And we had some concerns, and she, one by one, was really working on them. I think she was trying to get us to a neutral or a non-opposition. She was trying. And she said, okay, well, I'll let you guys come up with something, but I'm going to reintroduce this bill this year, and that's why we're looking at it. So now she says if we don't go neutral and we oppose, and the bill will pass without our, she will knock out all those concessions that she had made in her amendments. So I'm not inclined to oppose this bill because should it pass, we are stuck, I'm sorry, Tim, we are stuck with losing all of our funding. She'll take all that funding and she'll just put it in a pot. So that's the threat she's given us, which I don't like to be threatened, but on the other hand, clout is clout. And so we don't have the clout she has. So I'm inclined to go neutral on her bill, but to try every effort to get her to put in the recommendations that Councilmember Nelson had about the constitution of the Board of Supervisors that don't overlap with the City of Sacramento, and Councilmember Middleton. I really like that supermajority need when funding is, because they can't take our funding then, because those are the people that are going to decide where the funding is going. And so they can say, no, Citrus Heights, you keep yours. I mean, and Elk Grove, I know, wants to keep their funding. Rancho wants to keep their funding. And so nobody wants to be the opposition and lose their funding. And so I say take a neutral position on 802, work for every little, concession that we've got to preserve our money, and we can. She will do that. And anything else that, our council members have put in as input, because I think they're all good ideas. And I don't like the county model. I think that I served on the 20-year Board to End Homelessness, and it was full of non-electeds who don't understand governance. They understand the needs and where the money, where I want this and I want that. And it's just a bunch of people who didn't really have a common goal. But a lot of them serve their own. And she said you got 5 nonprofits serving themselves. I'm not happy with non-electeds. I think elected people, they have more of a fiduciary responsibility to the people they represent, and the other people do not. And so I kind of don't like the county layout. I don't like, to have a homeless person on there is fine, but to say the majority would be 51% is nothing.
I have another comment, Mayor.
Yes.
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa, you're absolutely right. And I don't want to be the holdout to keep other jurisdictions from being able to receive their funding. I think it's a really not great place to be in. It's very punitive. And I would hope that, if, the senator hears what we're saying and really cares about, how we're trying to serve our community, at the very least, I would hope that she would say, you know what, I see what you guys are saying, and shelve the bill.
Well, that would be nice.
I know that's a long shot.
But we do need regional cooperation. They're not doing a good job. I'm sorry, I don't think Sacramento County and City, they have a partnership agreement. I don't think they're doing a very good job. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the homeless issue and the structure, the funding is a very, very complicated issue. I know sitting on the advisory board to the COC has proven very frustrating for myself, and the last 2 years have been a lack of information, a lack of transparency, and again, what we're saying as electeds is we're held to a different standard, that we must be transparent, we must hold open meetings. I was very surprised at the last meeting I was allowed to attend, that was of the COC board, that they did not accomplish hardly anything. And I think because there were no funding allocations on the docket, there was no information that they were interested in. And so there was no real action on that particular board. I really am a proponent of what are the tenets of our community: local control, fiscal responsibility. And for local control to happen, it has to be controlled by local people. And that means the county and the cities should have the loudest voices, the most significant voices to this process. I do believe that Senator Ashby had great intentions. She is a member of this community that we are talking about, and she wanted to compel action of a significant nature in order to effectively say, I see something's broken, can you please fix it? And if not you, then me. And I think that's the action she tried to promote. Since I don't see action at the county city level that is moving in a significant and meaningful way, I will provide something that will actually shake the cobwebs from the trees. And boy, has it shaken all of us. And I think that's important to note. While I think it absolutely stinks that a hammer was used by the senator when a chisel would have been so much better received, it did compel us to move, didn't it? Pay attention to this issue. Propose different ideas and get creative versus stay in a position of stagnation and frustration, and ultimately people are not getting off our streets. For that, I thank Senator Ashby for what she has compelled us to do and make decisions on. That does not mean I agree with her. So now we are at the place where we are to make recommendations to our staff regarding these two separate yet conjoined issues. And I think at this point, if we have no other comments, I think we should individually voice our feedback on issue number 1, feedback related to the recommended option model, that being for Sacramento County. And I believe your options are support, oppose, remain neutral, or any other direction in addition to what has already been discussed.
And Mayor, may I suggest that the council could consider taking a motion to direct staff? So taking a
Okay.
formal motion in action.
Do I have a motion for one or the other?
I'll make a motion that we direct staff to work with Ashby to get us to a neutral position.
We are now considering the Sacramento County proposal, I believe, because we have two.
Well, okay, then I'm not going to make a motion.
Out of respect for our county board of supervisors and the great work that they do in our community, I'm going to make a motion that remain neutral.
I'll second the neutral motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
I will take the roll call. Councilmember Karpinski-Costa.
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
No.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez Taff.
Aye. Okay. The ayes have it for remaining neutral on the county proposal. Let's go with the next action.
Then I'll go back to my motion that I don't want to be neutral as is, so we work towards neutral by getting more negotiated terms that favor preservation of our funds, voting equality, what was the other, the funded mandate, because that was in there, but make sure it's clear, it's in there, that the mandate is funded so that staff time and whatever time we have to put into that JPA if it's ever forced upon us. Did I miss anything for a motion? Okay. Anyway, I'll make that motion that we work towards neutral.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, other council members, I'd be interested to hear you weigh in. I mean, I heard some comments earlier that I collected in our notes. If you'd like me to repeat some of those, or if you'd like to continue your discussion, Mayor, that's up to you. But I would like to make sure that I clarify a few things before you take your action, but I don't mean to interrupt either.
No, this is the perfect time. Ash, go ahead with your list so that we can make sure that all our thoughts are included.
Yeah.
One, I heard that there's still questions around the PHLA funds not being secured. So what I would propose is whatever your action is on this, that we speak to, all local funds around this issue that we currently receive, and future funds, that those be protected and allocated as they currently are to the city of Citrus Heights, and that we maintain local control over how those funds are administered. So that would be one. The other thing that I heard Councilmember Middleton raise is this supermajority voting requirement. So that's another item that I heard the Councilmember Middleton raise. So that would be something that, as an entire council, that you would want to see that you concur with that. The other thing that I'd heard was the notion of the 3 county board members that are envisioned in that JPA. If 2 of those were largely City of Sacramento, and you combine those with the other 3 from the City of Sacramento, that would be a pretty heavy weight towards that vote. So maybe the supermajority gets at it, or the notion that 2 out of those 3, or all of them, need to have a boundary with the other suburban jurisdictions that are members of the JPA. So I think that maybe we could offer a couple of solutions there potentially, for her to consider to address the concern of the city council. The other thing.
Specify the district numbers, because the supervisors serve by district numbers.
Right.
And you could specify which districts overlap the cities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if the council, it's the pleasure of the council, you could say supermajority, or you could say supermajority and/or, this district number that overlaps with the affected suburban cities. So those would be a couple things that I'd like to get your feedback on as part of your final action. And then the unfunded mandates for staffing, to look for her to find an avenue to provide some funding and address that concern that, continues through state legislation that gets handed down to local jurisdictions without funding. I also heard that to shelve the bill, please. Allow the city to continue to work with Sacramento County and our other cities in our region to work on other solutions. This bill is unnecessary and premature, and we could ask her to shelve the bill as part of whatever action you take. And those are the comments that I had written down. I believe that.
I missed one of mine.
I did, okay.
I did. I didn't say it out loud,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's why you didn't get it.
All right, thank you.
So to the negotiation point about the supermajority, I'm flexible either way. The goal for me is to make sure that there's any critical decisions, such as the adoption of strategic regional plans, issuance of bonds, things like that, there is a collective voice on that. So however we get there, whether it's through a supermajority or making sure there's some type of touching of, district boundaries I'm fine with that. The other thing I had was geographic equity metrics that ensure that resources such as shelter beds, preventative services, and all that are allocated to Citrus Heights in proportion to the need that has been identified within city boundaries. I don't want this to be something where people are shoving folks around outside of a place where they call home. If home is Sacramento or Folsom or wherever it is, we need to be working to keep those people and those individuals in those spaces if they so choose to be there, rather than trying to reallocate and trying to balance out homelessness throughout the region. I don't want the people to get shuffled around. I want to actually be able to solve the issue.
So what I hear there is also a comment back to the senator that ensure that within that legislation there is
Would that be
a measure that
preference?
speaks to geographic equity relative to allocation of existing populations of origin or something along those lines.
There's no point in doing a point-in-time count and finding out how many unhoused individuals are in my city if we're not going to actually have the resources to do
Correct.
something about it.
I think I definitely understand where you're going there, and we could come up with some language on that.
Okay. So for the feedback to Senator Ashby, it sounds like, Ash, you have a laundry list of items that we will include in a letter. Now, the content of that letter, are we having to vote on? Help me out here.
Can I offer, Mayor, can I offer a comment here? I mean, I really, really hope you guys are right and that our current funding is protected. Can we get something in writing on that? Can we get something that says our funding is protected for 30 years or 55 years? I know the state can override that, rewrite it again, but it would make me feel a lot better if there was a clause in there that says, yes, we're willing to participate. You have promised us that you will not touch our local funding, but I want to see that. I want to see a clause in there that says,
But on the balance,
For
with-
55 years.
if the supermajority is voting on that funding, and we know that the other city jurisdictions feel the same way we do, because they want to protect their funding, and you're not about to vote to get rid of theirs, because they'll vote to get rid of yours. So you kind of work as a team with all of the smaller jurisdictions, and that's why she wanted to give she gives Elk Grove 2 seats. So that works us up towards a good majority, towards it, at least, almost.
If I can ask a question, Mayor. Councilmember Schaefer, what I believe you're getting at is some sort of provision in the actual language of the bill that speaks to not only is this funding preserved now, but it's going to be preserved, you could say in perpetuity, for instance.
you could stay in perpetuity. I was just thinking about some of the affordable housing provisions basically say, that has to remain affordable housing for 55 years or for a specific period of time. And I just think it needs to be long enough to sort of, all the people that are around today who made this promise, that are keeping that promise for our lifetimes anyway.
I hear the spirit of the comment. I think that I would look to draft some language that speaks to something like in perpetuity and see how they respond to that.
Sure. And well, I'll put it this way, it's very telling if they will not agree to that.
All right, so what action do we need to decide on at this stage?
Well, it's really the pleasure of the council. So what we would look to the council to do is to take a motion on whether, currently the position is opposition. So if you wanted to oppose a bill, you could speak to, I want to oppose the bill and amend it to include the following language. If you wanted to take a position in neutrality, you can say, I'd like to take a position in neutrality subject to the direction we gave the city manager to work with the mayor, for instance, on drafting a letter to be delivered on behalf of the city. Similarly, if you wanted to support 802, then you could take that motion as well and include these provisions in a letter of support. So it's really the pleasure of the council on what motion you want to make.
And I would remove my opposition and go to neutral if we can get the in perpetuity language. That's a condition of going to neutral. I'm going to drive a hard bargain here.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I thought we did.
I think the council needs to make for instance, if you were to make a motion,
I move that we move to neutral on SB 802, subject to the direction that we've given our city manager, and to be explicit to what Councilmember Schaefer said, that we should have language in there that speaks to perpetuity.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's have our vote.
Councilmember Karpinski Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton?
Aye.
And Mayor Lopez Taft.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work on these particular issues. They are never easy. Next item, please.
The next item is Department Reports, number 10. The subject is Annual Communications Update by the Economic Development and Community Engagement Department.
Good evening, Council. I'm Megan Huber, Director of Economic Development and Community Engagement. I will be turning over the mic in supermajority to my colleague, Communications Officer Marissa Brown. But first, I just wanted to take a moment to give some quick history on strategic communications in Citrus Heights. This is our 5th year presenting the annual communications update, rounding up all of the excitement of the previous year as it relates to strategic communications. The reason it's our 5th year is because strategic communications as a dedicated function did not exist inside of the city of Citrus Heights for quite some time prior to 2019. So this was essentially a startup that happened right in time for COVID, which was absolutely helpful in emergency response, and we've grown it ever since. Strategic communications is not just about sharing information, it's how we support City Council's strategy, mission, goals, and objectives, and it's how we create community pride, vibrancy, and engagement. So our hope is that this is the best update yet. Consistent with Citrus Heights DNA, it is always our goal to grow, continuously improve, and make even more magic happen. So with that, I will turn it over to Marissa.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm excited to share with you our 2026 Communications Report. Thank you, Director Huber, for teeing it up for us. Let's see. There we go. Here's a quick look at what we'll be discussing in this presentation. We'll have an overview of our communications, the channels within that, media relations, how we're finding Citrus Heights news, our awards and accolades, and then what's to come for this year, what's already started this year. A quick look at our team, so led by Director Huber. There's then me in the communications function, my teammate Alicia in the economic development function, and then this last year we had 2 communications interns that we were super excited to have, and Alexandria is with the team, and I'm proud to announce that Lucy has since accepted a job in communications and has directly shared that this role helped her get that job. So we're super excited that she's on to go out in the world and do her own communications. A little overview of what our team does. What does it look like for a communications team to function? That means City Council support with talking points, key messages, communication campaigns, proactive and reactive media relations, social media management, managing our website as well as creating that content, and publication development, whether it's a brochure, a report, or e-newsletters. Graphic design, we have a partner that we work with, as well as some in-house graphic design we manage, and photography and video, and internal communications as well for our city staff and teams. When people ask, how can the communications department help me? This is what I like to show them. It's a quick, easy way to see what the communications department does and functions as with our communications menu. So you can see we have some awareness features, a flyer, maybe a news flash, which is essentially our press release notification system, as well as education through our newsletter and videos. And then to sprinkle a little extra on top, we have some dessert, which is getting people to engage with the content and encouraging them to participate in more ways than one. An overview of what our strategy framework looks like for the communications team. We're built around a strategic messaging platform to provide consistent messaging across all of our efforts, which you'll see more in this presentation, whether it's speaking to our media, city materials, social media. We are really trying to reflect that DNA of our city and our brand, as well as ladder up to our city's goals. And our strategic pillars building those goals are fiscal prudence, public safety, and local control. This messaging is sprinkled throughout all of our communications. Our more specific goals for the communication teams are ensure that they're proactive and that support our strategic objectives for each department and for our city council. Ensure that they're meaningful and keep in mind the needs of our community and our partners, and that they're measurable, which is what you're going to be seeing here today, how they measured up. Our key messages, what are we trying to tell people through our communications? We're a genuine community. We offer effective access to the region. We take charge of our own future and where small business thrives. Our brand voice tends to be informational, personable, and community focused. What you see, this is a snapshot from our own social media channels. How are we sharing this communication, our goals and our strategies? How are we telling the story of Citrus Heights through our visual elements, through what people are seeing in our channels? We're sharing community photos. You will very rarely see a flyer on our channels. This is a reflection of the community that we live in. When people visit our channels, we want them to see the people that they can run into at a store, that they can see at a city council meeting. We want them to feel immediately like a part of our community. Personal anecdotes. We're sharing things from people in our community. We have informative captions, giving people the information they need to know right there at their fingertips. Vibrant colors and consistent branding throughout our communications. What does this say? What does having these standards for our communications say about our city? It says that we have a capable and informed leadership. We are welcoming to community for new residents. We're engaging with our local partners for local business support. We are a fun and family-focused city. We have dedicated staff, and we have plenty of new amenities for our residents and for our visitors. All right, now diving into some of our communications channels, you can see our Instagram, taking a look at what our channels how they've grown over the years. So I joined our team in 2023, so we've been taking a deeper look at what these numbers are doing year over year. So we had an increase of 638 people in 2024, bringing our Instagram increase to almost 2,500 people, or over 2,500 people. We had a 42% increase in reach and a 20% increase in engagement. We really like to see this engagement increase on Instagram. Engagement means that we're having people comment more, like more, instead of just looking at it and scrolling past. And a quick look at our audience. We do have a majority of women in our audience and a majority of people from Citrus Heights. That means our content is reaching the people in our own community. A look at Facebook, we had an increase of 1,000 followers and an increased reach of 80%. So reach, just as a standard measurement, is anytime we're reaching people, whether they follow us or not. So maybe somebody is sharing our content to their own followers, then our reach expands. So this engagement number informs that as well. We had an engagement
question as you go along.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm not a social media. How do you know on Facebook where they're from? Does it say?
Yes, Facebook will give you demographics for your followers.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, which is great tool. We did see a decrease in engagement on Facebook, which I am seeing as a positive because engagement can be both ways, right? We can see the positives and the negatives of engagement. We can see the yay, go city team, and we can see the other side of that. And so a decrease in Facebook, we do tend to see more comments on Facebook than on some of our other channels. So I'm actually okay with this decrease in engagement because it likely means that we're giving more straightforward information, answering more questions versus insinuating a response out of people, and we like that. Our channel on Facebook as well, majority Citrus Heights and a majority women. Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter is a tool that we use to make sure that we have the channel is active when we need it. I often find that people aren't maybe getting their city news from in the moment, their day-to-day, like when's the event happening from Twitter or X, but they are going to come to Twitter in the case of an emergency, in the case of a communications crisis. When things feel like they need more frequent updates, Twitter X tends to be the platform for that. So we do like this channel to be active, to be updating on a frequent basis. We post all of our communications on Twitter as well. And then LinkedIn, a resource for professionals, for businesses, entrepreneurs coming into our city, maybe people who are looking to employ at the city of Citrus Heights. We did have an increase in that channel as well. And an audience from the greater Sacramento area as well as the San Francisco Bay Area. I know that our job offerings reach a lot of different people, maybe looking to relocate to the area, so that could be a reason why we're having some people from the San Francisco Bay Area to our channels as well. Our top posts on Facebook and Instagram for 2025. For Facebook, it was the Habitat for Humanity announcement, letting people know that applications were opening and 26 homes were coming to Sayonara Drive. And on Instagram, we shared a really fun business video highlighting Black Sails Coffee, welcoming a new business to Citrus Heights, and encouraging people to go attend. These videos have done really well on our channels. People really like to see it in a way that makes it feel like they can go into that shop and know what it's like. So this one had great traction as well. Social wins. We had over 2 million impressions. That's 2 million people seeing our content in some regard. So similar to Reach, they're getting it on their feed. Maybe they don't follow, but the algorithm is popping up in that. Maybe they engaged with the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce account, and the next time on their feed, it was the city of Citrus Heights. So these are people within our sphere who are getting our content in their atmosphere in some way or another. Our engagement rate was at a 7.1%, which is a great engagement rate. Our posts across all channels, almost 700 posts. That's 700 new things for people to hear about, or reoccurring things that we want people to stay informed on. And 1,800 new followers across our channels. I also included a few comments from our social media from our supporters, which are always nice to see. I know these are always fun in my inbox to have pop up. And our city website. As you know, our city website is a great resource for information, people looking for city news, updates on projects. We had 369,000 visitors to our website, and we have almost 2,900 Newsflash subscribers. Newsflash is a press release platform, so anytime the city has news, we post it as a newsflash. It's what our website calls it, and then that can go out to the people who are subscribed to that newsflash. And there's different categories for those as well. Our most visited web pages are our general citizen input form, our incident logs, which are 2 Citrus Heights Police Department forms, and then our residential garbage and recycling services. These, I would say, are very small percentages of a whole 100%. We do have a lot of pages on our website informing people, so our most visited website is about 6% of our total visitors. So while not a lot, still interesting to see where people are going. And our top visiting cities are Sacramento, Citrus Heights, and San Jose. Our city newsletters. This is something I'm really proud of. We have really bolstered our newsletters to have great engagement rate. You can see how many subscribers. We have an average open rate of 52%. The industry average is about 40% for public agencies. So we are above and beyond that rate. And not only are they opening it, but we see that people are clicking not only the top of our newsletter links, but the very bottom of our newsletter link as well. And these go out the first Thursday of every month. If these are not in your inbox, I encourage you to sign up for them. And our business bulletin, this was something that was reactivated last year as well. We have an average open rate of 50%, and this goes out to every business license that signs up in the city. So every new business, every current business that has a business license is being added to this business bulletin and being shared in timely, informative, business-related news from the city. Physical media. We know that not all of our audience is on social media or maybe on Instagram, let's say. So we have other channels as well that we are reaching out to people. We have mailers that we have sent to residents and businesses. We had the Save the Dates mailer at the beginning of last year. Our neighborhood area awareness flyer went out last year as well. And then the city manager letter to the businesses went out at the end of last year. We also place 8 mini billboard banners at our city's key entry points and at event locations. When we have our big events coming up, you can see our team there with one of them for City Scoop. Those have been really, really beneficial to reaching the people who maybe don't know that we're on Instagram or Facebook or following our newsletter, and also visitors as well. And flyers and yard signs. So we have flyers that we're making for each and every one of our events. We happily give these out to anybody who needs a flyer. We'll give it to you a hard copy, or we'll give you the physical or the digital version if you'd like to print some yourself and hand them out. And we make sure they're posted at the City Hall and Event Center as well. Some campaign highlights for y'all. We had our Love Local Business highlights. So we highlighted 30 plus local businesses last year. And we had great engagement on this campaign, posting one business every Sunday from April to October. So really exciting, and then sharing about other businesses throughout our region as well, or throughout our city as well. Volunteer recognition. We had a big spotlight last year that we started with the Chip-In Hall of Fame Award that we gave out in April. So we highlighted each volunteer that was nominated once a month for the rest of that year, and we'll be bringing back that program this year as well. We also highlighted our Chip-In Days, which are twice a year volunteer events for our community to participate in, led by our city. The Big Day of Service, which was the city's first year participating last year, our appreciation reception, and of course, Neighborhood Area Awareness Month. Our Volunteer Hub, which is a new volunteer tool that's online for residents and agencies, organizations in our city to sign up for. We have 317 participants and 23 participating organizations. So they go on there, they add their events that they need volunteers for, and then they have sign-ups by the participants that are on this site. We also sent out a quarterly from the desk of the city manager. We covered roads, the Sunrise Mall, and civic engagement. So this is from City Manager Feeney, and sharing about recent topics and relevant topics for our city to get updates on. Our email subscribers, our newsletter subscribers get those ones. And we share about them on social media as well, make them available on our website. Some more campaign highlights. We do share City Council proclamations. So every time we have a proclamation here, you'll often see me taking a photo or asking more questions. So we highlighted 28 City Council proclamations and presentations last year. We do these on the Fridays after council, and we share them so people know what our City Council is talking about and recognizing and what they should be celebrating in our community. We also talk about our capital improvement projects. People often have questions about what's going on in the city with our general services team, and we highlighted 17 projects from them last year, talking about things ranging from goats in our city to our Auburn Boulevard Development Project, Complete Streets Project, and our Transforming Our Roads campaign, which was a big success.
Absolutely. And just to pause here to talk a little bit about the Transforming Our Roads campaign, it's a really significant example for our communications team of why us listening is so important, especially to council and community feedback. If council might recall, this came up as a topic of conversation during our previous round of strategic planning, where it was expressed that even though we have so many great things happening in infrastructure with our 3-year pavement strategy and exponentially increasing our paved Centerline miles, it's still really difficult to effectively deliver that success news to our community because it's not always where they're looking. So the Transforming Our Roads campaign is really an example of how we heard you and designed a campaign to help overcome that. So this campaign We took a really sharp pencil to it to design key messages so that we can more effectively communicate our infrastructure successes and future plans to our community. And that includes the timeline and all of the great projects coming up. That includes budget information, not only how roads are paid for, but how Citrus Heights is one of the only cities or jurisdictions in the region using general fund dollars to fund those projects. It also talks about why we don't see projects happening all the time, because we have a rainy season and we need the sun to be out and for pavement to cook to make good roads. So that was a goal for this campaign, and that was directly because of your feedback. So listening is a continued goal for us, and we always have open ears to both you and the community about what we can communicate and more effectively communicate.
Thanks, Megan. And our last campaign highlight for 2025 is our community development team. So we shared about the Habitat for Humanity, which you saw was one of our top posts, their permit-ready accessory dwelling unit, Tree City USA, and pro-housing designation. Media relations. So a huge part of communications is engaging with our news partners, whether local, regional, or sometimes even not in our region. I remember when I first started, we had an inquiry from the LA Times. So we fielded 129 plus media inquiries directly to our team. We had about 6,300 media mentions. This number is actually bigger than it looks here. And I pare it down a little bit because the city of Citrus Heights does get a lot of mentions, but it can be often in regards to traffic, weather, just those normal city news mentions. And so this is a more accurate number to what's our city and our initiatives are being talked about in the media. Our top sources, obviously, are our local news, the Citrus Heights Sentinel and the Citrus Heights Messenger, and then followed closely by, CBS News. And our media sentiment on the right side here is mostly positive, so that's great. We love to see that. And this is also monitored by one of our media monitoring platforms. It's called Meltwater. It's a tool we use, and it uses AI to look at what verbiage is being used in an article and to then determine whether it's neutral, positive, or negative. You may be wondering, how are we finding this Citrus Heights news? We know where our media partners are finding it, but how is the city finding it ourselves? We have a great toolbox of resources available to us and steady, consistent means of getting this information to us so then we can share it out. We have an external events calendar with community-populated events, which we do a monthly social media post for and a section on our newsletter. This is making sure that we're informing residents and visitors not only of what the city is hosting, but what events is our community hosting? How can you get more involved? We also have a business social media highlight interest form. So those 30 plus businesses, a lot of those came from businesses that were interested in having their business highlighted on social media, which we like to see because that means that they're engaging with our content, they see that there's value in it and want to have a piece of that for themselves. Participation in local groups, a huge asset to us, is being plugged in with the Citrus Heights Chamber, Sunrise Marketplace, our San Juan Unified School District, including their Citrus Heights Principals meeting, and our reach in neighborhood areas. Knowing what they have going on helps us know what's going on in our city. And obviously, social and traditional media monitoring. I mentioned some tools. We do have a way to see when Citrus Heights is mentioned on social media as well through Hootsuite, our social media platform, and Meltwater, that media monitoring platform I mentioned. And last but certainly not least is our internal public information team. We call this team PIT, a beautiful acronym for our team. And you can see here it's made up of a member of every department within City Hall and Citrus Heights Police Department. So this team meets twice a month, and we go over a lot of what we're talking about today. And we talk about what's going on within your department and how can the communications department support that. What do we need to know to get out to our residents? What do people need to know on social media? What's a question we should be answering on our newsletter? Because these people are in their departments doing the work and getting the phone calls, hearing things from their supervisors, and we meet twice a month to talk about that. This team has really created a culture of communications in City Hall. I started out having to ask for things, and now they're coming to me and telling me things, which is a huge win. And so I'm really proud of this team. It's something that I am so grateful for each and every one of them. are we sharing? So where are these stories coming from? This is who we're sharing. It's a large list of people, but these are people who have the resources to them to get their items in our inbox, to get them shared on our social media channels. We are making sure we're as close to these organizations as we can and making sure we know what's going on within their organization so we can help share them.
And Marissa, if I can, this is focused a lot on community communications right now. There's an entire other platform focused on economic development communications that you'll be hearing about more next council meeting. So the list is not exhaustive and even more extensive.
All this work has paid off, and we had 2 Public Relations Society of America awards. We won an award for the From the Desk of the City Manager series and our Sunrise Tomorrow public engagement campaign, and we're very proud of those awards from our team. What to look for in 2026? We have a lot going on in our department that we're really excited about. Our economic development work plan. Part of that, we're going to be bolstering our LinkedIn presence. We see an opportunity to share more about the City Hall culture and bring more people into City Hall, and also bringing more property owners, entrepreneurs, people who want to do business here in the city through our LinkedIn channel. So we're going to be bolstering a lot of that. Our Business of Distinction quarterly awards. We had our first one last quarter, which we announced at State of the City, and we're currently accepting nominations for the Legacy Award, which are businesses in 15+ years in the city of Citrus Heights, so please nominate those. And Love Local Phase 2, we're continuing our efforts of highlighting local businesses through our Love Local campaign. That includes getting window decals out to them, working with our chamber partners, and making sure that they know they have resources like our social media highlight interest form available to them. And business recruitment through marketing, business recruitment marketing, showing the businesses that are welcoming into our city, but also already existing here, sit-down restaurants, entertainment, destination retail, and more. Not only attractive for business owners and people here, but our residents to know what they've got going on in their city, and visitors too, to come check out Citrus Heights. Q1, which we're currently in, we have Neighborhood Area Awareness Month, which is currently happening, and we'll be having our volunteer appreciation efforts happening soon. We're really excited to be bringing those back. In Q2, we'll have a photo contest, and May is Bike Month, and as well as many city-hosted events like Tools of the Trade. And then in Q3, we have City Scoop, 3 of those, city-hosted events like Stars and Stripes. In Q4, we have our holiday campaigns, city-hosted events like our tree lighting, and of course, Best Lights in Citrus Heights. Thank you. I appreciate your time and listening today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, do we have any questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe you may not remember. In the old days, we used to have at the corner of Greenback and our street here, Stock Ranch, no, the street, Fountain Square Drive, used to be like a digital message that went across a clock. It had a clock that, I don't know if it was over the right time, but it would tell you the time digitally, and then it would be followed with a digital message that moved through. It would tell about events that were going to happen at the event center, or, and I just wondered, whatever, we used to own it. The park has one, but we used to own this one at the corner. Amy remembers, where the tree was.
It was
which
at
now is there.
where our old council chambers was, at the corner of Fountain Square.
Wouldn't it be cool to have another digital, thing in front of City Hall that just said kind of alerted people to things that are going on? And they used to rent it. Like, if you were going to have your own event in the event center, you could pay the city, and it would broadcast it across for you.
That's fun. We can put that on the idea list.
Put it on the idea.
And continue chatting.
And somebody, generous might buy it for you. You never know.
If we ask nicely.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor, thank you so much for everything. I love your enthusiasm, your energy that you bring to these reports. It's clear that we're getting great messages out there far and wide. So hats off to you. Good job.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson.
I want to echo that. You have the most enthusiastic team award, as far as I'm concerned. Getting the word out about our city and engaging in all these channels, that's an exhausting job and an exhaustive job. And so you've done really, really well just by your evidence of growth and engagement. So thank you for all of your efforts. I look forward to another great year.
Thank you, Mayor Lopez, staff.
Is Tim on here still? Tim, would you like to
Yeah.
chime in for a moment?
Mayor, he is no longer on.
All right,
with us.
wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Our next item is city manager item.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. I do have a few updates for you, but I also want to just take a moment and just recognize we had some pretty meaty items tonight that your council was grappling with, and there was a lot of work into the staff reports and the presentations, and I just want to thank our team for doing a great job on putting those together. And you just heard about the communications work that happens too, which definitely is a big lift. So thanks to the team on those efforts. And for city manager updates, the first one I want to talk about is Big Day of Service 2026. So Big Day of Service, the community interest meeting will be held on January 29th at 5:30 p.m. This is at Sunrise Community Church in Fair Oaks. And Big Day of Service, this is a joint event that the city of Citrus Heights participates in with also Fair Oaks and Orangevale. So really kind of from a community standpoint, our larger community, it's a great opportunity to come together and work on service projects of mutual interest. So if you have an interest in volunteering, and I know that it's a big focus for our mayor, this is a great event to turn out to. We also have our Sacramento Fire Department, which will be doing their Fill the Boot Drive Safety Fair. That will be on Saturday, February 7th from 10 to 1 o'clock, and that's at the corner of Sunrise and Greenback. So you'll have firefighters out there looking to get donations from the community to support burn victims, and that's something that they do every year. And that will actually run from February 4th through the 7th, with the safety fair occurring on Saturday the 7th to kind of finish out the event. So as you're driving through that intersection during those days, and you see them out there, please exercise caution as they work with the community on that fundraiser. And on Tuesday of this week, SACOG, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, went ahead and celebrated adoption of the regional blueprint. And so that was held on Tuesday. I know our senior planner, Allison Bermudez, was there. We thank her for attending that and representing Citrus Heights. And it's good for us to have representation because Citrus Heights has very successfully worked with SACOG. Especially in recent years, our staff has really delivered for the community on getting a number of projects funded through SACOG. And also I want to put a shout out to our SACOG board member, Councilmember Schaefer, who's continued to advocate for Citrus Heights and Citrus Heights projects as well. You can see some examples that are listed here in the blueprint. I mean, we've got our Sunrise Tomorrow specific plan, which all of the council's been clearly involved in. Complete streets on Auburn Boulevard and also on San Juan Avenue. San Juan, that first phase is complete. We're going to have that phase 1A, as they call it, that will take us up past Chesling here starting, I think, next year. So that is forthcoming as well. And then we have our trails, of course, the trails that our community is enjoying right now, and more to come. SACOG's been a big part in all of that, and has been, we're grateful to their staff and also the SACOG board's support for all of our Citrus Heights projects. So just wanted to highlight for our community members that would like to see the blueprint, that it is available, and also for our council as well. I know you're up to speed on that, but certainly it's there for the community. And that concludes my updates.
Thank you very much, Ash. All right, it looks like we've arrived at items requested by council members, future agenda items. Do we have any requests?
I do.
Okay. All right.
I have noticed in this week that SPUD is trimming trees to save their lines, but they're not arborists. And so I was just wondering if they have a what for and how to in their approach to trimming trees. I know some of them are on private property, some of them are on public property, but they just go down the line and the truck just trims. And I just wondered if we could have SMUD tell us their process and how they go about directing the work to be done. Because we are a tree city, and I hate to see trees destroyed because somebody doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I like to see that as well.
Okay, so we've got 2 council members that are interested in seeing that item. What we will do is we'll reach out to our contacts at SMUD, and we'll ask that they come and make a presentation about that program, and also hear your feedback on things that you might want them to be considerate of here in our community.
Okay, thanks. And thank you, Pusha.
Of course. And I would like to see if I can get any support to bring back a resolution for the city council to consider supporting Congressman Bera's National Day of Play. And the goal of that is to elevate the critical importance of play in child development, health, and education. And it just supports the universal right for kids to have fun, but I also think that we should do it too and have fun. Going outside and playing is great.
Play day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd support that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We'll make sure we bring that item back as well, and we'll coordinate with Council or Congressman Bera's office as we bring that item forward to make sure that they know it's coming before your council.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, I'd like to, when we're done with that item,
Yes.
I'd like to suggest that we close our meeting in memory of David Shelton, who used to sit right there I don't think he ever missed a council meeting, and he passed in December.
Well, I appreciate that, that sentiment, and we learned something new, where we will stand in celebration of an honoree. So that new activity is standing and giving them a standing ovation as we close our meeting. So I would like to do that. So let's.
And I think David would appreciate it.
Yeah, let's honor our one of our residents who passed recently, David Shelton, with a standing ovation. Thank you, everyone.